Douluo, my Sharingan isn't very proper. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction. So please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 605 Zui is her and Yichu's child. While Yichu was telling Jin Douluo and Jin Ringsu about the evil soul master, inside the golden space of the angel god statue, the golden sun slowly dissipated. Within it lay the angel holy sword, gleaming with holy light and bathed in holy fire. Golden light flowed, and a phantom emerged from the angel holy sword. A long golden dress, exquisite features, and 3 pairs of wings behind her, it was none other than the angel god. If Yichu, Jin Douluo, or Jin Ringsu were here, they would be utterly astonished. The angel god looked exactly like Jin Ringsu, only more mature, with a more holy, majestic, and gentle aura. At this moment, the angel god's phantom gaze was fixed intently on Yichu and Jin Ringsu, who were nestled together beneath the angel god statue. A hint of conflict and reluctance flickered in her eyes. He's actually getting so close to the vessel I prepared, the angel god murmured to herself, then smiled knowingly. She finally understood. Back then, Yichu had clearly come to save her, yet he was utterly indifferent. It seemed that from the moment he saw her, Yichu had already foreseen some of her future plans through those eyes. How? The angel god chuckled with relief. Speaking of which, Zuir, isn't she also my child with him? The angel god stared at Jin Ringsu, who looked exactly like her gaze complex. Jin Ringsu was a vessel she created using a portion of the creation god's power given to her by Yichu, combined with her own essence, a vessel to hold the angel god. In other words, Yichu played a part in Jin Ringsu's birth. This was a future that even Yichu at that time probably hadn't foreseen. So be it, there's more than one way to live, the angel god sighed, turning her gaze to the angelic holy sword at the center of this space. I don't need to be resurrected like that. It doesn't matter if Rakshasa is still waiting for me, I'll just give her to that bastard Shiro. Anyway, I only consider her best friend. That bastard is quite capable. No, for this mess, I'm about to perish and sacrifice my descendant to reactivate Rakshasa's divine trial. If that bastard Shiro's compensation satisfies me, I'll tell him Rakshasa's coordinates outside the realm. The angel god's voice grew weaker. The golden light in her eyes grew brighter, as if piercing through this golden world. Seeing the darkness suppressed under the holy sword. That was her dark side. After a moment of contemplation, the angel god made up her mind. How, perhaps, after light and darkness unite, the angel gods can also reach new heights. Jin Ringsu's background. The angel god's self-talk. Yichu, who was still communicating with Jin Douluo and his grandson, was completely unaware. Time was limited. Yichu and Jin Ringsu didn't stay long in the Hall of Offerings. When it was time for cultivation, Yichu took Jin Ringsu to the blue-silver forest. He didn't even ask Jin Douluo about Jin Ringsu's mother again. After all, even the angel god couldn't tell. Jin Douluo probably knew even less about the intricacies involved. If he did know, he would have told Jin Ringsu herself long ago. In the blue-silver forest, Yichu and Jin Ringsu embraced, even with their legs raised against each other's softness. They didn't hold back at all, silently cultivating their martial soul fusion technique. The sun set in the west. Far away in Heaven Dao City, in the Moon Pavilion, Lingyuan Douluo was saying goodbye to Tang Yuhua. Yuhua, that crazy woman is looking for me, I have to go back quickly. Lingyuan, her wavy short hair framing her face, lay languidly on Tang Yuhua's fragrant couch. She hadn't been eavesdropping at Blue Tyrant Academy lately. It had been a long time since she'd heard that dramatic, affectionate symphony of love. She was really getting used to it. Since she called you, go back. She probably wants to ask you something, Tang Yuhua said slowly, stopping her playing. Maybe it's to prepare for the Soul Master competition. What's there to prepare for in the Soul Master competition? Yuguan and Gui Mei are enough for her to command, Lingyuan Douluo scoffed. Speaking of which, would she really lay a hand on your little man? Should I help you save him? Tang Yuhua nodded, then shook her head. Lingyuan Douluo sat up, somewhat bewildered. Yuhua, what do you mean by this? Tang Yuhua smiled gently and patiently explained, My not answers your first question, she really can fight, and might even imprison him. My shake answers your second question, as for rescuing him, it depends on Sister Danger's orders. She might return during this time. That's what we agreed on. Douluo stood up and stretched, saying helplessly, I really don't understand you guys. You're heartbroken, yet you just watched that crazy woman imprison and torture him. The key is, we can't resist either. Tang Yuhe smiled bitterly and rubbed her forehead. She's now the Pope, powerful, and has the inheritance of a god. Am I supposed to take Erlong and deliver myself to be killed by her? Hell, that's true. That crazy woman's scythe is terrifying. Even the Grand Elder would be terrified when he sees her in a rage. Douluo shuddered and shook his head. She had actually tried to save Yuhe and the others just now. She was really asking for trouble. But Sister Lingyin, why did you suddenly think of saving him? Could it be that you've fallen for him too? Tang Yuhe didn't shy away from this topic. She simply followed behind Sister Dong and hugged her. What a joke. How could I possibly be interested in such a junior? Douluo waved her hand, her face flushed unnaturally. After experiencing nearly 100 episodes of Springtime in the Garden starring Yuchu, her current impression of Yuchu was that of a hot, perpetual motion machine. Every detail of his vigorous forward thrust was etched in her mind. And when she saw Liu Erlong and Xiao Wu's increasingly ecstatic expressions, and heard their beautiful singing voices while playing the lead role, she increasingly preferred to be the female lead herself. Whenever she did, she felt her whole body heat up and go weak, and her dryness disappeared. Among the scenes, Liu Erlong's drowning-like appearance at the end, the image of her body tensing and convulsing as she was about to breathe her last, resonated most with her. However, she absolutely could not admit to such a thing. Just the memory of her squatting in the corner was enough to make her not want to bring it up. Is that so? Tang Yuhe chuckled, her red lips pursed, not revealing her suspicions. Sister Lingyin has been around for so many years, it's time to find someone to settle down. Perhaps you could ask Sister Danger's opinion. Ahem, let's talk about that later. Douluo waved her hand, opening the window to let in some fresh air. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 606 BB Dong conducts the 9th test. After the two women chatted for a while, Douluo drank the lukewarm tea that had cooled down. Alright, Yuhe, I should go to Lianba Academy. With that old bastard Douluo around, it doesn't make much difference whether I'm there or not, so Sister Lingyuan knew. Tang Yuhe stared at her intently. She could guess Douluo's whereabouts to some extent. During the day, she would be here, reciting poetry and listening to her music, chatting idly, or meditating and cultivating. But many nights, she would disappear. As for where she went, Tang Yuhe had no intention of exposing her. Such things, of course, had to be accepted willingly after being unable to explain oneself. Oh, cough cough, Yuhe, what do you mean by this? You were the one who asked me to come and protect Liu Erlong in the first place. Douluo coughed twice, covering her embarrassment. Nothing, I just felt sorry for Sister Lingyuan working so hard these past few days, Tang Yuhe replied with a light laugh. HMPH. That makes sense. Douluo stood by the window, glancing back at Tang Yuhe. Yuhe, I'm leaving now, goodbye. Okay, goodbye, Sister Lingyuan. Tang Yuhe stood up to see him off. A gentle breeze blew by, and Douluo's figure had already disappeared from the window. Tang Yuhe leaned against the window, watching the people coming and going on the street below, and the half-sun set on the mountaintop, a hint of expectant smile on her face. According to Sister Danger, judging by the time, after the Soul Master competition ends, it should be about time to go to the City of Slaughter. How long will it take you to get out of the City of Slaughter, Soul Saint? I really hope you reach that realm soon, and think of me soon. Whoosh! Douluo transformed into a black streak of light, streaking across the sky above Heaven Dao City. He flew rapidly towards the direction of Spirit City. The soul tool in his hand suddenly vibrated, flashing with purple light. Danger! A flicker of joy flashed in Douluo's eyes. She immediately flew downwards, landing on an unnamed hilltop. Her delicate hand brushed against her soul tool. A crystal ball the size of a human head appeared in her hand, pitch black, obscuring everything. Huh? Douluo let out a soft exclamation, calling out, Danger, Danger. Holy Maiden, my holy maiden, are you there? I'm here. A clear, cold, and helpless voice, tinged with weariness, came from within the crystal ball. Why is it so dark over there? Is it inconvenient? Ling Yuan Douluo raised an eyebrow. She used to be able to see faces. That's just how the environment is here. To make a long story short, I have limited time. Have you and the others found him yet? A concerned female voice came from within the crystal ball. They found him a long time ago. It's a pity you're a little late, otherwise, I would have been at Yuxun just now. Ling Yuan Douluo nodded, seemingly excited to hear her voice again after so long. Immediately, she poured out her heart. Danger, let me tell you, that kid isn't human. He has a ton of girlfriends, and he's like a tireless ox, practically going in and out every night, making even me, who's supposed to be celibate, itchy, especially that Liu Long. It seems she wants to have a baby with some young man. She's at that age? Really? It's insane. Ling Yuan Douluo didn't know how to describe it. After hearing her words, a long silence followed from within the crystal ball the size of a human head. These things are secondary. Let her have a baby if she wants. It'll be good for him to settle down for the sake of the child. As long as he's happy. Danger, are you alright? Ling Yuan Douluo realized she'd said the wrong thing. Although she said these were secondary, her menacing tone betrayed her true emotions. I'm fine. I'll handle all these things myself when I get back. The voice from the crystal ball sent a chill down Ling Yuan Douluo's spine. This was the saintess Ling Yuan Douluo remembered. Ling Yuan, I won't ask any more questions. I don't have much time left. Remember, after that woman imprisons him, take me to rescue him immediately. Rescue him? Danger, are you coming back? Did Yu say she wanted to torture the kid? Not so fast. Things here are a bit tricky. Torture is unavoidable. She has the rakshasa demon side, and I'm not here. Just take this ball with you. If you're scared, bring Nana too, otherwise, it'll be bad if something goes wrong. The exchange between the two ended quickly. Far from Douluo continent. In a pitch-black space, Bibi Dong, dressed in purple robes, had an icy expression. The blood-red Shura divine sword in her hand glowed faintly. Damn this place, there are still over 40 more floors left. This 9th trial? How many years has it been? Yexiu, wait for me to come back. And Liu Long, you slut. Her voice gradually faded. Bibi Dong's figure disappeared into the darkness. Here, she had to be extremely cautious. If their identities were exposed, the combined attack of tidal Douluos could number over 100. They couldn't afford to be careless. The work of the Ashura god had been left to her, the intern. Inside the blue-silver forest, the two, having finished their cultivation, lay quietly on the lush blue-silver grass. After learning certain things from the angel god, the atmosphere between them subtly changed, becoming more intimate. Jin Ringsu leaned against Yichu's chest and whispered, Yichu, what are you thinking about? Those evil soul masters? Don't worry, I'll intensify my cultivation and eliminate them as soon as possible. I'm not thinking about them anymore. According to your ancestor, they can't cause too much trouble. Zuir, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Yichu smiled and picked up Jin Ringsu, letting her lie completely against him. The angel god was right. Besides, according to her, both Azure and Rakshasa could deal with those evil soul masters. Even if it was just the content of the divine test, that was enough to put his mind at ease. As for the process, it was all too rapid and unpredictable. He had no idea how he had returned to the past. Jin Ringsu smiled condescendingly, facing Yichu. So what are you thinking about? Jin Ringsu raised her eyebrows, her red lips lightly touching her beloved before her. Then, as if remembering something, her expression turned cold. You're not thinking about your other women, are you? I don't think so. I'm thinking about how to deal with the madwoman pope you all talk about, Yichu said sullenly. HMPH. How can you say it's not? Anyway, you just can't think about other women when you're with me. Jin Ringsu snorted coldly, her soft hand resting on Yichu's chest, her eyes filled with a strong warning. Yichu. This is my bottom line, don't cross it again. I'll try my best. Yichu raised his hand and hooked Jin Ringsu's neck, pulling her close and capturing her red lips. Divine power activated, and the two disappeared into the blue-silver forest. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 607 Cleaning Jin Ringsu's jade feet. Lan Ying stood on a branch, watching the spot where Yichu and Jin Ringsu had left. She pouted resentfully. What was all this about? Coming and going as they pleased, just leaving like that. The setting sun sank into the mountain valley. Night fell. Yichu and Jinriksu were strolling in Hanhai City. They found a popular restaurant and sat in the drafty attic, looking out at the vast ocean. While waiting for their food, Jinriksu and Yichu stood by the railing, snuggling together, enjoying the cool evening breeze carrying a salty scent. Jinriksu suddenly asked, "Yichu, how far is Seagoat Island from here?" "I don't know." "Doesn't your spirit hall have records?" Yichu shook his head, gently leaning against Jinriksu's shoulder, the faint fragrance of her virginity emanating from her collar. "I didn't pay attention either." Jinriksu shook her head, glancing back at the dishonest Yichu. "You'd better win the Soul Master competition, or I'll teach you a lesson." "Don't worry, I'm determined to win the championship." Yichu smiled confidently, looking at the already served food. He put his arm around Jinriksu's waist and moved to the table. "Alright, let's fill our stomachs first." Yichu opened his Sharingan and picked out all the fish bones from the whole fish. He smiled and put it in Jinriksu's bowl. HMPH. Jinriksu gave a soft snort, laughing as she picked it up and tasted it. Night fell like a curtain. Hanhei City was still quite lively, but the tide was rising and falling on the outer beach, though there weren't many people around. Yichu and Jinriksu walked barefoot on the soft sand. The coolness rose from their feet to their brains. The grainy texture brought a slight itch. For people from the inland, this was a very unique experience. "Zuir, let's go." Yichu took Jinriksu's soft hand, and the two of them spread their wings simultaneously. Under the bright moon, on the sea, Yichu activated his divine power, transferring a fishing boat he had bought at great expense to the sea. The boat had rooms inside, and apart from the rocking, it was no different from land. Landing on the boat, Yichu and Jinriksu didn't intentionally control its direction. They drifted away with the wind. Standing at the bow, he embraced Jinriksu, kissing her from ear-tip to earlobe, gently sticking out his tongue, his lips lightly pursing the soft skin of her neck. "You, don't do anything rash." Jinriksu's voice was soft and gentle, completely lacking any threat. Grabbing Yichu's heartfelt hand, she bit her red lips, enduring the tickling sensation on her neck and below. "I'm not doing anything rash, it's just a little playfulness between lovers," Yichu said rather unjustly, becoming increasingly unconcerned about Jinriksu's threats. "You bastard. Can't you just enjoy the breeze?" "Yes. Of course." Yichu smiled. He pulled his hand out of her narrow chest and put his arm around Jinriksu's waist. He picked her up and placed her on the edge of the boat. Then Yichu sat down next to Jinriksu. "I'm happy to simply keep you company like this." Yichu held Jinriksu's soft hand, turned his head to look at the beauty whose face was flushed, his expression calm, as if the previous ravaging had not happened at all. Jinriksu gritted her teeth, glared at him angrily, and leaned her soft body against Yichu's shoulder. "Then let's sit like this for a while." The fishing boat drifted with the waves. Yichu and Jinriksu sat on the bow, quietly watching the waves below. Jinriksu's gaze was drawn to the towering peaks. Her face gradually became hot. She spat inwardly. Thinking of what she had prepared, Jinriksu straightened up. She took out a prepared water bottle from her soul tool. "Zuir, are you thirsty?" Yichu's words were cut short as he watched Jinriksu's actions, a strange look flashing in his eyes. Jinriksu didn't drink water. Instead, she held the water jug outside the boat and began pouring it over her delicate jade feet. "Zuir, what are you doing?" Yichu asked, puzzled. Jinriksu frowned and rolled her eyes at him. "Can't you tell? I'm washing my feet." "Washing my feet?" Yichu was taken aback, not understanding why Jinriksu would wash her feet. But looking at her jade feet that couldn't hold back the water droplets, Yichu felt a little eager to try. He reached out to stop Jinriksu from pouring the water and said with a smile, "Zuir, why don't you let me wash them for you? You'll wash them for me." Jinriksu was stunned, her face flushing slightly. Even among married couples on the continent, it was rare for a man to wash a woman's feet. She looked up and met Yichu's deep blue eyes. Seeing the eagerness in his eyes, Jinriksu gritted her teeth, feeling shy and conflicted for a moment. She finally nodded. "Alright, then you can help me wash." With that, Jinriksu handed the water jug to Yichu. "Then hurry up and lift it up." Yichu took the jug and gently placed his hand on Jinriksu's thigh. Even through her clothes, it was incredibly smooth. You shouldn't move." For some reason, seeing Yichu like this, even the normal touch made Jinriksu feel a tingling sensation. Jinriksu bit her red lips and gently rested her jade-like foot on Yichu's leg. Seeing Yichu's barely concealed eagerness, she kicked him in embarrassment and annoyance. HMPH. You shameless one, Yichu swayed, chuckling, you're my woman, what's the problem? Hearing Yichu's words, Jinriksu smiled shyly, her red lips burst. Yichu gently grasped her ankle. Jinriksu flinched as if electrocuted, her neck turning crimson. Her body trembled slightly, and in the moonlight, she shyly gazed at Yichu before her. The moonlight was cool and cold, reflecting on the two figures on the bow of the boat, who frequently exchanged smiles. Yichu held the water jug tightly, the spout slightly tilted. Water droplets fell like pearls, gently sprinkling onto Jinriksu's jade-like feet. Those beautiful feet were white as jade, delicate and smooth, as lustrous as solidified cream. The lines of her ankles were elegant, like those of a graceful dancer, outlining this exquisite work of art. As Yichu's fingertips gently glided over the instep, sole, and toes of her feet, Jinriksu's toes curled up slightly. A playful and lively air emanated from them, as if one could hear a joyful melody leaping from her toes. Jinriksu's delicate body trembled slightly, her face becoming even more alluring, a suppressed moan escaping her lips. Yichu's movements were gentle and focused. He meticulously washed Jinriksu's jade-like feet, as if caring for a delicate flower. Soon, Yichu changed to the other foot. Jinriksu's toes curled slightly under Yichu's gentle caress. It seemed as if she was both avoiding and anticipating, this subtle reaction intensifying Yichu's love. Gazing at the ice cream-like color under the moonlight, Yichu looked up tenderly and met the shy Jinriksu's gaze. Under Jinriksu's unexpected gaze, Yichu held her jade-like foot, gently breathing warm air onto the instep and kissing it. You bastard! Jinriksu's body trembled, a warm current flowing through her. Her cheeks flushed, her eyes sparkling with shy light. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 608 Crushing Yichu's Arrogance. After shivering, Jinriksu almost fell into the sea, but luckily Yichu reacted quickly and caught her tightly in his arms. Zuier, are you alright? Yichu gently lowered Jinriksu's skirt, covering her shapely legs. I'm fine. Jinriksu was both ashamed and annoyed, but also overwhelmed with an unconcealable joy. Now it seemed that she could solve Yichu's problem with a few stomp moves, so why not? As for using methods and spending time talking, given time, she could do it too. Jinriksu gently bit her lower lip, as if afraid of revealing the unspeakable shyness in her heart. She looked up at Yichu with a dazed expression and said with difficulty, after it dries, then help me put on my stockings, okay? Yichu gently pinched Jinriksu's chin, nodded slightly, and kissed her soft red lips, exhaling their breaths together. After a long while, the cool sea breeze had already washed away all the water droplets from their feet. Yichu stood by the boat, turning Jinriksu around to face him. He took the smooth, weightless stockings from her hands and knelt on one knee. Jinriksu, watching this scene, felt it was a bit much. Hey, you don't have to do this, do you? I can't help it, the height of the boat's edge is just right, and it's nothing, right? It's normal, Yichu shrugged. HMPH. I guess you're good at putting other women's stockings on, aren't you? Seeing Yichu's nonchalant attitude, Jinriksu gritted her teeth and raised her foot to step on Yichu's shoulder. Yichu rolled his eyes. This change of expression was too fast. It went off track again. HMPH. Hurry up, we have other things to do later, Jinriksu snorted coldly, pulling her foot back from Yichu's shoulder, tensing it and presenting it to Yichu's face. She was wary, as if afraid Yichu would bite her again. Other things, Yichu raised an eyebrow, gently pulling open the top of the stockings, preparing to put them on Jinriksu. Starting from her toes, slowly moving down to her ankles and calves. Jinriksu's legs had beautiful, flowing lines, her skin fair and delicate, radiating a captivating glow in the moonlight. Her knees were slightly bent, forming an alluring curve, the tautness of her leg muscles and the softness of her lines complementing each other perfectly. Yichu's gaze lingered on Jinriksu's legs, his hands moving with utmost gentleness. His touch on her soft thighs stirred an indescribable tenderness. Jinriksu blushed and trembled. Then, Yichu gently lifted her other foot, carefully putting on the white stockings for her. The stockings were soft and comfortable, conforming to every inch of Jinriksu's skin. Yichu's movements were gentle and skillful, quickly finishing. He just looked up and met Jinriksu's shy eyes. Yichu was suddenly struck on the shoulder, kicked to the ground by Jinriksu. You bastard, you've gotten so skilled, Zuier. Jinriksu gritted her teeth, looking at Yichu who was trying to get up, and snapped, "You stay lying down." "Fine." Yichu helplessly spread his hands, sprawling on the boat. Just as Yichu thought Jinriksu was about to give him a good beating, she suddenly stopped moving. She just stared at Yichu's abdomen with a dark and shifting expression. "Zuir, shut up. Close your eyes too," Jinriksu hissed through gritted teeth, climbing down from the edge of the boat, looking down at Yichu. Yichu was confused. But he knew Jinriksu wouldn't harm him. He obediently closed his eyes. Jinriksu stared at Yichu, and seeing him obediently close his eyes, she immediately bent down, tidying Yichu's clothes and preparing to massage him. Feeling the cool breeze on the other side, Yichu was startled and was about to open his eyes when he heard Jinriksu's cold, flustered voice. "If you dare look at me, I'll kick you to death." Yichu stiffened slightly, remaining motionless. Jinriksu snorted coldly, stood up again, and leaned against the side of the boat. A faint blush rose to her face. She still didn't have the courage to look Yichu directly in the eye. She could only leave a barrier between them. She carefully moved her slender toes a few times, then gently placed them on Yichu's legs, beginning to massage him. The roar of the waves filled their ears, making both Yichu and Jinriksu's hearts uneasy. Jinriksu's movements were gentle and shy, as if afraid of disturbing the tranquility. Yichu deeply felt her tenderness, closed his eyes, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Jinriksu's jade-like feet gently pressed on his legs, sometimes firmly, sometimes softly, as if playing a beautiful melody. She would shyly lower her head from time to time. Jinriksu's heart raced, and the blush on her cheeks deepened. Stealing a glance at Yichu, she saw him reveling in this comfort, which made her both happy and shy. Yichu's eyes widened in surprise. He suddenly remembered that Jinriksu had said she would give him a gift. This massage must be it. Time slowly passed. Jinriksu stood on the crest of a wave, feeling the restless sea. Heat waves surged, and spray flew everywhere. Fishing boats bobbed on the sea, their sails billowing, drifting with the wind. Half an hour passed. The massage ended. Jinriksu sat alone at the bow of the boat, gently rubbing her face. Her smooth, white stocking feet were together, gently rubbing. She felt uncomfortable no matter what she did, as if the waves crashing below the boat had soaked her. She was waiting for Yichu to help her wash. Yichu, having changed his clothes, came out of the cabin and looked at Jinriksu sitting at the bow. A gentle and satisfied smile graced his face as he pulled her into his arms from behind. "Zuir, thank you, Jinriksu nestled gently against Yichu, cuddling for a moment. She quickly grabbed his collar. "Hurry up and get me done." "How?" "Yes sir. My angel goddess," Yichu chuckled, sitting back at the bow and grasping Jinriksu's jade-like feet, which shimmered with a milky sheen. He hadn't expected Jinriksu to do this. Yichu was very happy. This meant that Jinriksu would no longer insist on a lifelong monogamous relationship with him. Although this was the most equal arrangement, Yichu, being the worst kind of scoundrel, clearly couldn't do it. The next morning, Yichu prepared red date bread for his breakfast and ate several bites. Only after Jinriksu urged him on did he finally feel satisfied. Having quenched their thirst and dressed neatly, the two emerged from the cabin and onto the ship. The morning breeze from the sea was refreshing. Jinriksu took Yichu's arm and nestled quietly beside him, watching the sunrise slowly rise over the sea. A genuine smile appeared on her face. "Zuir, we should go back." Yichu turned and pulled Jinriksu into his arms loosely or tightly, allowing their bodies to touch. "Yes, let's go." Jinriksu didn't say much, blushing as she cupped Yichu and gently kissed him. The ship and its occupants were swept away by divine power. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 609. What kind of plane could be used to launch something if it had the right conditions? Inside the secret chamber of the Crown Prince's residence. After kissing Jinriksu goodbye, Yichu left immediately. In her boudoir, Jinriksu walked behind the screen and prepared a basin of warm water. From her soul tool, she retrieved a pair of murky white spider silk threads. She immediately frowned, her face flushed, and quickly tossed the threads into the water. Strands of spider silk rippled in the water. "Phew, that bastard," Jinriksu let out a long sigh. She hadn't expected Yichu to be so skilled, his attacks so penetrating. Smelling the lingering fishy smell from the sea on her body, Jinriksu immediately began filing the bathtub. A faint smile played on her lips. Yichu's flower-like expression lingered in her mind, filling her with satisfaction. In the days that followed, Yichu's life continued as usual, cultivation, and in his spare time, he spent time traveling with the girls. Yichu had done everything he could with Zuke. Her skills were also quite good. She had studied at Yuxun and was proficient in playing various instruments. Aside from the seaside and the starred-out Great Forest, Yichu had already accompanied her to all other places. At this moment, Yichu and Zuke were standing on Erming's shoulders, searching for a spirit beast around 40,000 years old. She had already broken through to level 20. All things considered, the first to obtain a 40,000-year spirit ring wasn't Duguyan, but Princess Zuke. Zuke's spirit was the swan inherited by the Heaven Dao royal family. With Yichu's help in obtaining a spirit ring, even if the quality was somewhat ordinary, becoming a titled Douluo was definitely not a problem. Zuke, how do you feel? Yichu held Zuke, dressed in a princess dress and wearing a laurel crown, in his arms, nuzzling her cheek against his ear. The smoothness of a princess's face was unimaginable, still flushed with an alluring blush. A hint of fear lingered on her face. That was so exciting, Yichu. Zuke's face flushed with excitement, her little hands gripping Yichu's arm tightly. Are you happy? Yes, as a princess of the royal family, Zuke was far more disciplined than ordinary people. She couldn't even imagine such a thrilling scene, riding a 100,000-year-old soul beast and rampaging through towering trees. Soon, with Erming's help, Yichu found a suitable soul beast for Zuke, a 38,000-year-old azure wind sparrow. It was fast-flying and small in size. Locked down by Yichu's divine power, it was knocked down by Erming with a rock. Alright. Zuke, let's get down. Yichu scooped Zuke up in his arms and was about to jump off Erming's shoulders. Okay, Zuke hugged Yichu's neck tightly, not forgetting to thank Erming. Thank you, Erming, roar. Erming roared and shook his head. After landing, Yichu first sent Erming back, then took the azure wind sparrow and Zuke into the divine might space. Looking at the soul beast over 4 meters long with a wingspan of over 6 meters, Zuke felt a little apprehensive. Zuke, don't worry, I'm here. I've already controlled it. Yichu hugged Zuke from behind, holding her soft hand, and walked forward. He pressed her shoulders, helping her sit cross-legged. He bent down to look Zuke in the eye. You just need to absorb the soul ring properly, understand? Yes, I understand. Zuke nodded, and facing Yichu so close, gently offered him a kiss. The kiss was brief. Yichu stood up and activated his blue-silver domain. He whispered, close your eyes, it's about to begin, okay? Zuke closed her eyes tightly, sitting cross-legged on the ground, and quickly sensed a powerful force surging into her body. Yichu watched quietly. Although he had control over it, and the sacrifice process was very gentle, it was better to be safe than sorry. He still couldn't let his guard down. Time passed slowly, and an hour went by in the blink of an eye. Zuke, with her short silver hair, had a few beads of sweat on her forehead. Her previously flushed body gradually returned to normal. A black spirit ring slowly descended from above her head, overlapping with the original yellow spirit ring. Her cultivation level soared, directly breaking through to level 26. Sensing the changes within her body, Zuke happily opened her eyes. Yichu had been standing before her the whole time. Zuke smiled softly, opened her arms towards Yichu, and quickly pounced on him. Yichu, I'm now a level 26 Great Spirit Master. Yes, congratulations, Your Highness, and thank you, my beloved husband. Zuke happily tiptoed and hooked her arms around Yichu's neck. After absorbing the 10,000-year spirit ring, her body had undoubtedly developed a lot. She had grown considerably taller, her clothes were a bit short, and her cleavage was about to overflow. She seemed to sense Yichu's gaze. Zuke stared intently at Yichu, as if looking at a treasure, and said shyly, Yichu, I'm going to take a bath later, shall we do it together? Okay. Yichu hugged her delicate body tightly in his arms, pressing her close to him. Zuke's eyes seemed to be veiled by a misty haze, shimmering with a hint of spring. Absorbing the soul ring to improve her cultivation, her resources had become abundant. She no longer needed to be limited to physical contact, or to using the musical instruments she had learned from Yuzuan. Things she wanted to do but couldn't before, she now had the means to do. She could give Yichu a back massage, or even something like that. Looking at the breathtakingly beautiful little princess before him, Yichu couldn't help but gently peck at her slightly pouting red lips. Zuke responded slowly, giving in to his every whim. her throat bobbing as she accepted Yichu's gift, her cheeks moving shyly as she offered him a touch of sweetness. Her soft breasts pressed gently against Yichu's chest, becoming even softer than before. After a long while, their lips parted, and Zuke, now curled up like a boiled shrimp, her flushed body tightly nestled in Yichu's arms. By the way, Zuke, what's your second soul skill? Yichu gently massaged Zuke's chest to regulate her heartbeat. It seems to be flight. With a bit of attack power, Zuke's head was a little dizzy, and her body, already covered in a fine sweat, felt even more damp in Yichu's arms, with his hands covering her. Is that so? Yichu stopped teasing her lips, stopping in time, waiting for her to calm down. Then he took out the soul bone of the azure wind sparrow. It was a wind attribute left arm bone, with a sharp edge. Yichu handed it to Zuke. He instructed, Zuke, keep the soul bone safe. Absorb it if you want, but never let anyone know you have a soul bone, do you know? Not even your father. Yes, Yichu. I understand. Zuke tugged at her loosely draped dress, her flushed face full of spring fever. Her expression obedient. She knew the seriousness of the matter. Yichu rarely warned her about anything in such a tone. Okay, then I'll take you back to the stone house first. I'll deliver Ming's lunch there, okay? I'll prepare hot water and wait for you to come back. Zuke nodded slightly, closed her smooth, long legs, and gently offered her red lips to Yichu's face. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 610. It's practically like possessing half the world. Yichu escorted Zuke back to Biao village, and then, with King Feng, went to the Lake of Life to deliver Ming's lunch. Upon returning to the stone house, he was greeted by the vibrant colors of spring. Yichu didn't linger. He immediately followed Zuke's lead to the bathroom. Lying quietly with his back to Zuke, he let her apply shower gel and gently massage his back. After finding the right technique, Yichu rolled over. He let Zuke sit on his lap, slowly pouring warm water over him. She gently lay on top of him, slowly moving to wash away his fatigue. The water rippled, washing over Yichu's heart, causing a surge of warmth within him. In that wave after wave of cleansing, Yichu felt completely relaxed, the surging heat within him releasing. After the hot bath, Yichu felt refreshed, dressed neatly, and took Zuke's hand as they left the stone house. Zuke followed behind him like a submissive wife. She still felt a little heavy, not from overeating, but from the effort of pushing him along. Zuke, let me take you to Lianba Academy. You can play with Xiao, or I can take you to Yuxun. Yichu glanced back at Zuke's slightly reddened collar and gently rubbed it. Okay, I'll go to Lianba Academy. Zuke's attention was completely drawn to Yichu's hand, and she responded blankly. She also wanted to spend more time with Xiao Wu and Ningrongrong, otherwise, she always felt out of place with Yichu's other women. Yichu, can I visit Sister Erlong and the others at Lianba Academy often in the future? Zuke asked softly, holding Yichu's arm. Of course, no problem. Yichu smiled, took Zuke's soft hand, and disappeared from the spot in a flash. Inside Lianba Academy, the girls who had been waiting on time had lost their initial enthusiasm. Zhu's Huking, wanting to break through to the Soul King level before the finals, was putting in extra effort, focusing on cultivation except for meals and naps. Liu Erlong also opted to avoid seeing them, as she hadn't had time to herself for a while. Yulingling and Jiangzu had also started cultivating early. Support-type soul masters naturally face greater difficulties than other soul masters, so they had to work even harder. Yichu and Zuke appeared in the courtyard. Ningrongrong went to greet them. You rascal, eh? Zuke, you're here too. Ningrongrong had completely accepted Zuke's presence by now. Yet, Rongrong, long time no see. Zuke nodded slightly to her. Looking at the surrounding women, she felt a little uncomfortable. But she would get used to it eventually. She greeted them as well. Its princess sister Xiao, who was idly swinging on the swing, immediately jumped down and ran to Zuke's side. Little Lan, this is for you. Zuke chuckled as she took off the laurel wreath from her head and placed it on Xiaolan's head. To be fair, Xiaolan did resemble a princess from a certain country with a laurel wreath. After all, the Blue-Silver Emperor was an emperor of her clan. Her noble bearing was innate. Thank you, sister. Hikus, Xiaolan happily kissed Zuke's cheek after putting on the laurel wreath. She frowned and smacked her lips. It smells like brother. Zuke's face flushed bright red. She didn't know exactly what Xiao Lan meant. After all, Yichu had once expressed his pure and innocent love for her in her heart, filling her pretty face. PFFT, ha ha ha, Du Yuan and Bai Chengxian couldn't help but laugh, teasingly looking at Yichu and the other girl. Heng Qiuyan looked at Zuke with curiosity. This girl was actually a princess of the royal family. Her surname was Zhu, so her identity was obvious, a princess of the Xiandao royal family. Heng Qiuyan was increasingly impressed with Yichu. Having these women was practically like having half the world. Alright, wrong, you two go cultivate quickly. Xiao Lan, Zuke is in your care. Don't take her running around causing trouble, understand? Yichu touched his nose. He didn't know what Xiao Lan had figured out. Understood, Xiao Lan nodded seriously. That evening, Yichu naturally took Zuke to the seaside. However, they didn't go to the beach. Instead, they went directly to the place where he and Jinringsu had disappeared last time. They flew side by side in the air for a moment, then released a fishing boat from the divine might space. The boat drifted on the sea, and Yichu also drifted on the waves in the cabin. Husband, you're finally back. The next morning, Yichu, after sending Zuke back to the mansion and returning to Lianba Academy, was immediately enveloped in a soft embrace. Liu Erlong quickly pulled Yichu into her arms, her black pearl-like eyes filled with deep infatuation. Ahem. Erlong, let me go first, I still need to cultivate. Yichu coughed twice. Faced with his timid yet playful tigress, he didn't know what to say. He was terrified afterward, but upon regaining his senses, he wanted even more. Sister Erlong, it's still morning, Du Yuan couldn't help but tease. Ningrongrong also nodded sourly, saying, Yet, Sister Erlong is being too unreserved, that jerk might think you're a promiscuous woman, HMPH. What are you little girls thinking? I'm just too happy. Liu Erlong raised her eyebrows. She felt that if this continued, her image would collapse. Little did they know, her image had already been solidified in Ningrongrong and Zhu Zhuking's minds through the constant sobbing and crying that echoed through their room, and the occasional mornings when she couldn't wake up. She possessed a kind of physique Yichu liked. She was also incredibly greedy, a fiery personality that, like a snake trying to swallow an elephant, would ultimately be defeated. Xiao Wu couldn't help but tease, so, when Sister Erlong is happy, she'll wrap her legs around someone else's body. Xiao Wu. You? Liu Erlong opened her mouth, her face flushed. Alright, let's cultivate first. Yichu supported Liu Erlong's voluptuous body. To be fair, he had been saving his energy these past few days. Today, when we cultivate the 7-in-1 fusion technique, I will be the one in charge. Husband, isn't that too dangerous? Zhu Zhuking frowned. Xiao Lan was in charge because she was almost immortal. Although there had only been one accident, it was terrifying enough to leave a deep impression on them. Yes, husband, why don't we wait until the sisters are more skilled? Getting down to business, Liu Erlong suppressed her ulterior motives and looked at Yichu nervously. It's alright, I already possess a martial soul true body, the probability of problems is very small. Wishing everyone a happy life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 611 Allowing Rongrong to gradually take over the sect. Under Yichu's insistence, Xiao Wu and the other girls had no choice but to agree. The soul fusion technique with Jinringsu would allow Yichu Susanoo to reach the 4th stage and possess the Tengu mask. At that stage, he should theoretically be able to use his own exclusive divine weapon. Perhaps his soul power hadn't reached the required level yet. This 7-in-1 fusion technique, while different from the soul fusion technique, combines the soul power of 7 people into one. The resulting soul power would definitely reach the soul saint level. Otherwise, it wouldn't be enough for Xiao Lan to use the soul fusion technique. However, the drawbacks are also obvious. Using the 7-in-1 fusion technique requires not only physical strength but also extremely high mental fortitude. Once used, it cannot be used again for a short period. Even Xiao Lan, with her unique immortality, must abide by this rule. Yichu was somewhat looking forward to what his divine weapon would be, or how many divine weapons he could possess. After all, the more the merrier. Even if he couldn't use them frequently, they would still be useful. Husband, What are you thinking about? Liu Erlong held Yichu's arm, her warm, soft hand gently stroking his chest. Her eyes were filled with tenderness and concern. Nothing, just thinking about my cultivation later. Yichu shook his head, grasping Liu Erlong's slender fingers and gently squeezing them. Do you really want to do that? Liu Erlong wanted to persuade him further. Don't worry, Erlong, I know what I'm doing. After all, it's already destined that I'll be fine, isn't it? Yichu embraced her soft, fleshy yet slender waist, gently squeezing the soft flesh. Liu Erlong frowned, saying seriously, no matter what, this is not an excuse for you to act recklessly. Liu Erlong didn't want Yichu to take advantage of her knowledge of the future and not cherish his body. Yes, I know. Yichu also suppressed his smile, gently pursing his fiery red lips twice. Xiao, come up and cultivate, sit next to Sister Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu pouted, sitting on the roof, patting the spot next to her. Coming, Yichu gently comforted Liu Erlong. He swept her up in his arms and leaped onto the roof. Liu Erlong sat in Yichu's lap, her soft, warm buttocks nestled comfortably against his chest, facing east. Xiao Wu leaned against Yichu's shoulder with a grin. Yi Lingling followed suit. Though shy, she was gradually getting used to and learning about the little touches between lovers. With teacher Du Yuan around, she could ask questions whenever she didn't understand something. Sometimes, she didn't even need to ask. Du Yuan would enthusiastically teach her and even try to demonstrate, only to be pushed away and refused. A faint fragrance wafted around them. Yichu had to admit that the allure of a gentle embrace was indeed a hero's grave. When one had no worries about food and drink, compared to the stench of money and fine silver, the warm, soft jade beside them was more substantial and more captivating. They had cultivated the purple demon eye and eaten breakfast. Yichu then led the women to the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Several more figures were waiting for them there. Not only were Ning Fengzi and Swordbone Douluo present, but Zhu King was also there. Seeing Yichu surrounded by the women, Zhu King, with his keen observation, noticed a faint lipstick mark on Yichu's collar. Dad, Grandpa Sword. Grandpa Bone, good morning, Ning Rongrong greeted her father and grandfathers happily. But upon seeing the short-haired blonde boy beside Ning Fengzi, she exclaimed in surprise, Huh? And Senior Brother King. Senior Brother, what brings you to my house today? Junior Sister Rongrong, I came specifically to check on your training. The Empire really hopes your Blue Tyrant team can win first place in the Soul Master competition, Zhu King replied with a smile, withdrawing his gaze from Yichu. Don't worry, Senior Brother King, we'll definitely win the championship. Ning Rongrong clenched her fist, her excited expression brimming with youthful energy. Haha. If you win the championship, Rongrong, Dad will feel more at ease entrusting some sect affairs to you. Ning Fengzi laughed heartily, having witnessed Ning Rongrong's growth over the past few years. Compared to the mischievous little devil she once was, she was now undoubtedly much more well-behaved and sensible. Don't worry, Dad. Rongrong will definitely do her best and become a sect leader who surpasses you and elevates the 7 treasure glazed tile school to a higher level. As Ning Rongrong spoke, she didn't forget to glance at Yichu. She also wanted to help Yichu. Ning Rongrong wasn't stupid. Yichu had put in a lot of effort to establish the Soul Palace. This meant he was definitely hiding something from her and was preparing his own power. Yichu smiled gently. He remembered how Ning Rongrong had once said she wanted to be a proper young lady. Now, she wanted to become a proper sect leader. Daddy believes in you. With the help of Yichu, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Qing, the 7 treasure glazed tile school will definitely get better and better. Ning Fengzi rubbed Ning Rongrong's head. Yichu has so many excellent women, which is definitely beneficial to the development of the sect. The 7 treasure glazed tile school will never be as weak and incapacitated as the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School, which is only relying on that old dragon Yu Yuanzhen to hold it up. There are only a few big cats and small cats left. As for Liu Erlong, Ning Fengzi could only shake his head in his heart. As an illegitimate daughter, she was really not familiar with the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School. Little Lan also believes that Sister Rongrong is the best. Little Lan, who was originally enjoying her candied hawthorn, immediately raised her little hand when she heard that Ning Rongrong would be in charge of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. She wished she could throw away her candied hawthorn and support it with both hands and feet. HMPH. Then you'd better try to please your sister from now on. Ning Rongrong saw through Little Lan's thoughts perfectly. He gently pinched her little nose. She was just a little foodie, Even feeding Yichu and all his women wouldn't be a drop in the ocean for the 7 treasure-glazed tile school. Xiao Lan nodded with a smile. Junior sister Rongrong, you'd better work hard. I hope the friendship between our royal family and your sect can last forever, Zhu King said with a smile. Yes, Ning Rongrong nodded quickly, staring intently at Yichu. Thanks to Yichu, he'd even brought back a royal princess to be her sister. Even if they didn't care about the prince, they'd still have to consider the princess. This friendly relationship was practically guaranteed. Xiao Wu and the other women shared in the joy and sorrow, genuinely happy and proud for Ning Rongrong. Zhu King nodded, understanding the relationship between Zhu Ke and Ning Rongrong. It was just polite talk earlier. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 612 Information on the members of the Royal Fighting Team. After finishing her conversation with Ning Rongrong and Ning Fengzi, Zhu King finally looked up at Yichu again, her eyes filled with displeasure. She had been standing there for so long, yet he remained unmoved, with Liu Erlong, that mature woman, beside him, her eyes practically overflowing with desire. Brother Zhu, Yichu finally managed to interject, greeting him. He stared at Zhu King, his eyes filled with innocence. He needed a reason to approach him, right? Otherwise, wouldn't it seem strange? Besides, Erlong's heart was warm and inviting, wasn't it? Your Highness, Liu Erlong, along with Tu Yan and the other women, greeted Zhu King, their voices echoing. However, when Liu Erlong looked at Zhu King again, her gaze held a scrutinizing quality. Standing with Yichu, she took in Zhu King's gaze as well. Although the look in his eyes was subtle, Liu Erlong, whose heart was completely devoted to Yichu, still noticed the resentment, and even love, in it. Seemingly sensing the innocence in Yichu's eyes, Zhu King stopped talking and began discussing what Yichu had mentioned to him earlier. By the way, Brother Yichu, I found out more about the royal fighting team you asked me to keep an eye on. Their current cultivation levels are recorded here. Saying this, Zhu King took out a folder from his soul tool, seemingly a training logbook. Thank you for your trouble, Brother Zhu. Yichu turned to look at Liu Erlong, gently pulling his arm out of the deep cleavage. He stepped forward and took the file. Liu Erlong felt even more uneasy. Yichu and Zhu King seemed to be having an affair. Nearby, Chu Henshin greeted Xiao Lan and then walked to the huge iron block beside him, beginning to practice the chaotic cloak hammer technique. Yichu looked at the information on it, his brows furrowing slightly. Yichu, is something wrong? Ning Fengzi stepped forward, his gaze falling on the documents in Yichu's hand. Looking at the numbers on them, he immediately frowned. Fengzi, what's wrong? Sword Douluo couldn't help but be curious. Dad, Yichu, what's wrong? Let us see too. Yes, husband, let us see too. Ning Rongrong and Liu Erlong stepped forward. Yichu handed them the documents. Ning Rongrong was the first to exclaim in surprise, what's going on? How did their cultivation levels increase so quickly? That lewd fat guy is already level 39, when they left Shrek Academy, Ma Hongjin was only around level 27 or 28. Now, almost a year and a half later, he's broken through nearly 10 levels and is about to break through to Soul Master. The key is that he still has the evil flame. Zhu Xiuqing, Du Yan, Yi Lingling, and the other girls also frowned deeply. They were quite familiar with Daimyo Bei, Yu Xianheng, and others, but their cultivation levels had risen dramatically. Yu Xianheng, who was level 39 a little over a year ago, has now surpassed level 45. P.S. In the original timeline, Yu Xianheng was already level 45 during the finals. The improvements of the others were somewhat unexpected. Brother Zhu, why isn't there any information about Tang San among them? Yichu wasn't too worried about them. After all, even though their cultivation levels were much higher than before, not to mention the average level of each individual, there was still a gap between the Royal Fighting Team and the Blue Tyrant Team. He had only been concerned about Tang San from beginning to end. He already had a guess about the two gods mentioned by the Angel God. Tang San, who is already favored by the Ashura God and the Sea God, even without most of his memories from his previous life and without awakening the Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline, possessed twin martial souls. He was definitely a genius among geniuses. His potential was much greater than that of other innate full soul power. Those evil soul masters gods weren't fools. They wouldn't let go of such a genius. Therefore, Tang San's current strength made Yichu feel a little uncertain pressure. Zhu King shook his head. Tang San only returned to Heaven Dao City 2 days ago, but since then he's been staying at my fourth brother's residence and hasn't come out. The other members of the royal fighting team have also gone to my fourth brother's residence, with the evil blood elder in charge. I have no way of knowing anything about what's going on inside. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhu King continued, if you need me, I can. No need. No need to risk it. If I can kill him once, I can kill him a second time. Hearing Zhu King's words, Yi Chu quickly stopped her. The other party was on a mission to steal a kingdom, and he couldn't help because of Zhu Kai. He shouldn't be a burden to her. Haha. Good lad, when did you become so unmodest? You have twin martial souls, after all. Sword Douluo laughed and patted Yi Chu's shoulder. Hey, Yi Chu's words are really true. With his martial soul true body, who below the soul saint level dares to act arrogantly in front of him? As for the soul saint's martial soul quality and soul ring configuration, it's all useless. Anyway, as long as he reacts in time, he's absolutely invincible. Bone Douluo tugged at the stray hairs on his head. He was quite confident in Yi Chu's strength. The Soul Master competition wasn't a one-on-one event. No matter how powerful Tang San was, could he reach the Soul Saint level in a short time? Obviously not. Yi Chu was also considering this point. The advantage is mine, no doubt about it. That's right, that stinky guy is the strongest among the younger generation. Who doesn't have twin martial souls? Ning Rongrong grinned, grinding her tiger teeth. A hint of disgust flashed in Xiao Wu's eyes. When the time came, she would personally give that little brat a set of 8 stage throws. We will help Xiao Chu, yes, Zhu's Huking nodded. How, looking at the beautiful women around him, Yi Chu couldn't help but chuckle. What he was actually worried about wasn't himself with divine might. Instead, it was the presence of his close female friends. The presence of a divine inheritor on the competition field undoubtedly introduced many uncertainties. Zhu King didn't feel uncomfortable at this moment. Yi Chu's excitement and concern had already pleased him greatly. Ning Fengzi shook his head and turned to Zhu King, asking, speaking of which, King, do you know the training methods of Wang Dao and the others? This student doesn't know either. With the title Douluo in charge, my people dare not get too close. This information is gathered from those around them in their daily activities. Zhu King shook his head, then guessed, I think their method of improvement must involve unusual means. There's a strong smell of blood around the training ground. It must be some kind of shady method. Ning Fengzi nodded slightly. He had encountered the evil blood Douluo during the rescue of Yi Chu last time. He already had a good idea of what kind of being the other was. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 613 Why do people experience anxiety? King, if Zhu Bang and the others make any unusual moves with the royal family, please inform us immediately, Ning Fengzi instructed Zhu King. He knew there was no turning back now. According to the original story, even though he used some special methods to revive Emperor Zhu Yi and help the royal family stabilize the situation, he was still hated by the entire royal family. Ning Fengzi had considered this consequence when he took action, and he deeply understood what it meant to be ruthless in the imperial family. Therefore, he also understood the current situation. If Zhu Bang ascended the throne, it would be extremely disadvantageous for the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Ning Fengzi had a premonition that a major change would occur on the continent soon. If the 7 treasure glazed tile school could weather the storm, a smooth road awaited them. If they couldn't, decline would be inevitable. Don't worry, Master, fourth brother is still winning people's hearts and minds. He's not a threat in the court. Zhu King nodded slightly. How, you can't be careless, Ning Fengzi chuckled, realizing that Zhu King had indeed learned the essence of his composure. Looking back at Yi Chu and the others, Ning Fengzi felt relieved. If a major upheaval occurred and Yi Chu and the others hadn't matured, protecting them would become the sect's top priority. They were the sect's future. As long as they were safe, the 7 treasure glazed tile school's resurgence was only a matter of time. Yi Chu looked at them and pondered for a moment. He needed to inform Ning Fengzi and the others about the specifics of the evil soul masters so they could prepare early. Alright, Xiao Wu. Yi Chu took the document back from Xiao Wu's hand. Let's not think about these things for now. We just need to focus on training. Yi Chu smiled slightly. In the finals, no matter what, their Blue Tyrant Academy's average soul power would exceed level 48. The royal fighting team was still far behind. Did Tang San really think he could turn the tide? Unless he was truly a soul saint. Even if he was a soul saint, Yi Chu wasn't without a fighting chance. Yes, My husband is right. Zhu Huqing looked at him and smiled. Looking at her sisters, she said, other things are beyond our control. The only thing we can do is cultivate diligently, and that will definitely pay off. That's right, that's right. What's that saying again? The reason people are anxious is that they often try to control things they can't control. Ning Rongrong chuckled and patted Zhu Huqing's cat. She couldn't control other people's development, but she could find a way to develop better herself. Haha, Ning Rongrong's meaningful look made Xiao Wu, Bai Chengxiang, and the other girls laugh out loud. Ahem, Ning Fengzi coughed twice, and everyone looked up at the sky. Zhu Huqing glared at Ning Rongrong. Yi Ju said helplessly, alright, let's hurry up and cultivate, Uncle Ning. Today, I plan to take the lead in the 7-in-1 fusion technique. You take the lead? Isn't that too dangerous? Ning Fengzi frowned. Don't worry, Uncle Ning, I'm confident. Yi Chu nodded firmly. He had been training for quite a while now. And he also had Ning Rongrong's soul skill. This would allow members using the 7-in-1 technique to communicate more effectively, significantly reducing the risk of danger. Brother Yi Chu, would you mind if I watched from the sidelines? Zhu King asked with a smile, but secretly gave Yi Chu an unyielding look. Of course, no problem. Yi Chu shook his head inwardly, helplessly. Why refuse such a request? Soon, Ning Fengzi, Zhu King, and the others stepped aside. Fourth soul skill, holy healing possession. Jiang Zhu raised her healing scepter, the fourth black soul ring at her feet lighting up. A large mass of healing soul power flew from the scepter and entered Yi Chu's body. Holy healing possession. A continuous healing soul skill. The soul power attached to Yi Chu would automatically supply and repair the host when injured. Hu Jiangzhu's face paled slightly. Thank you, Jiangzhu. Yi Chu smiled gently at the kind older sister. Jiangzhu nodded slightly, her heart pounding. Zhu King frowned slightly, then quickly relaxed. That courtyard was a melting pot. Any girl who dared to live there shamelessly must have feelings for Yi Chu. He had expected this. Besides, a girl like Jiangzhu posed no threat to him whatsoever. Yi Lingling was also nearby, holding her 9-heart begonia, ready to intervene at any moment. Although Yi Chu felt they were being overly worried, he wouldn't feel at ease if they didn't do something. So he didn't say anything more. Before long, Xiao Wu, Zhu Huqing, Du Yan, Bai Chengxiang, and Yi Chu formed a circle. They quickly spun around Xiao Lan and Ning Rongrong inside the circle. A bright light flashed on Ning Rongrong's forehead. Soul bone skill, illusionary space. All 7 of them had a faint connection on a spiritual level. They seemed to be able to sense each other's thoughts. This time, their concentration was definitely at its peak. Usually, with Xiao Lan's immortal body, they might sometimes make slight mistakes unconsciously. But right now, Yi Chu is in control of the 7-in-1 fusion technique. He only has one life, and he's the most important person in their hearts. With their minds in sync, no one releases their martial soul first. Their soul power surges and churns, frantically converging towards the center. Yi Chu and the other 4 move in unison, following a special rhythm. The fluctuations in their soul power form a special field, permeating around each of them. Standing in the middle of the formation, Xiao Lan and Ning Rongrong hold hands, radiating 9-colored light in a golden blue mixed with red light. The 2 kinds of light swirled together. Whoosh! Without saying a word, the 7, with their minds in sync, immediately changed formation. The 7 of them transformed into long, straight snake formation. Yi Chu, as the terminal of the 7-in-1 fusion technique, naturally stands at the very front. Following closely behind are Zhu Huqing, Xiao Wu, Bai Chengxiang, and Du Guyan. After this period of training, Yi Chu and the others also discovered that the closer they were to the front, the more violent the soul power they had to endure. Therefore, their current formation was basically based on their physical attributes. Zhu Huqing and Xiao Wu possessed external soul bones, the shadow spider spear, and a molted remains, respectively. Bai Chengxiang, having consumed the Kirin Tongshan chrysanthemum, was nearly indestructible. In contrast, Du Guyan, a controlled type soul master who specialized in poison, was considerably more delicate. Standing at the very back were Ning Rongrong and Xiao Lan. After the 7 formed a line, the previously surging soul power was concentrated into a single force. Xiao Lan placed her hands on Ning Rongrong's back. The light emanating from her entire body turned completely blue. The gentler soul power of the Blue-Silver Emperor surged wildly into Ningrongrong's body. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 614 Evaluation of Swordbone's defensive power. A blue light completely enveloped Ningrongrong. The 9 treasure-glazed tile pagoda suddenly rose before her. The 4 spirit rings, 2 yellow and 2 black, that coiled around it lit up simultaneously. Next, she would use the ring fusion technique, acting as a guide to fuse everyone's spirit power together. Ring fusion, as the name suggests, is the merging of the power unleashed when all spirit rings unleash their spirit skills, allowing for the sole use of a single spirit skill. Xiao Wu had used this technique during the Spirit Master competition. The spirit power erupting from the 4 spirit rings was fully utilized in her 4th spirit skill, Fire Dance Radiant Sun, significantly increasing its power. This is just one application of ring fusion. Its essence is to combine multi-attribute spirit power into a single, unified force. In the preliminary rounds, the reason Kanghu Academy, lacking the ring fusion technique, was able to execute a 7-in-1 fusion technique was entirely due to their shared type of martial spirit. However, the ring fusion technique is indispensable for unleashing fusion techniques between different martial spirits. Otherwise, if conflicting soul energies were in the same person's body, they would definitely explode and die. In the original finals, Xiao Wu also used the technique of ring fusion to achieve a 4-in-1 fusion skill. Ningrongrong was currently undergoing this process, condensing and transforming all her soul energy and Xiaolan's soul skill. 4 tangible halos of light bloomed from the 4th floor of the 9 treasure-glazed tile pagoda and entered Du Yuyan's body in front. Hu, feeling the immense power within her body, Du Yuyan did not hesitate and quickly raised her hand, placing it on Bai Chengxiang's back. With the addition of Du Yuyan's soul energy, the 9-colored light undoubtedly became much stronger. Bai Chengxiang raised her hand, Xiao Wu raised her hand. The 9-colored light continued to intensify as it shifted, and the women behind Yichu were all enveloped in 9-colored light. Zhu Huqing gently placed her soft hand on Yichu. In an instant, Yichu felt the soul energy like a raging flood, completely filling his body. While his body felt somewhat swollen, he could feel the incredibly powerful force within him. But Yichu also felt a slight disappointment. Although that soul power was strong, Yichu didn't believe his current combat strength could surpass his engine Ringsu's soul fusion technique. After all, this wasn't a soul fusion technique, it was merely an accumulation of soul power. It wouldn't result in the qualitative leap that a soul fusion technique could provide. After Yichu's eternal Mangekyao Sharingan fused with Jin Ringsu's 6-winged angel, even his soul skills received a tremendous boost. Yichu exhaled a long breath and clenched his fist. There was no 9-colored halo around him. Instead, there was an incomparably immense pressure, his entire body radiating blood-red soul power, violent and full of aggression. Susanoo, without hesitation, Yichu immediately opened his eternal Mangekyao Sharingan and activated his soul true body. A blood-red skeleton appeared, initially enveloping Yichu, then extending to include Xiaolan at the end of the group, a total of 7 people, all protected within Susanoo. His Yichu's martial soul true body is really too much? It's already this huge even before it's fully formed. Sword Douluo exclaimed in amazement as he watched Yichu's martial soul true body grow exponentially. Yet, the range is still increasing. Bone Douluo also sighed. I'm really looking forward to seeing what his martial soul true body will look like in its complete form. Ning Fengzi rubbed his chin. Zhu King nodded beside him, even more eager than anyone else. I think Fengzi, you've got a long wait. Yichu's soul power level can be said to have completely reached the mid-level of Soul Saint, but his martial soul true body has only grown larger, with no intention of revealing his lower body at all, and the upper body doesn't seem to be fully depicted either. Sword Douluo smiled teasingly. As soon as he finished speaking, Yichu's Susanoo changed again, with tendons and flesh appearing, followed by the Tengu mask, that heavy and huge mask. Even Bone Douluo's expression changed. Sword Master, with Yichu's defense, I dare say even a level 79 Soul Saint wouldn't have a chance to break it without going all out. I don't think so. If I were still a Soul Saint, I'd definitely break it for you. Sword Douluo shook his head. He was known as the most offensive title Douluo in the Soul Master world. His sword martial soul, breaking faces, was also his forte. Besides, there seems to be no defense underground now, right? If he encounters some Soul Masters who control Earth attribute power, they'll inevitably find an opening to attack. Sword Douluo was indeed Sword Douluo. After putting himself in Yi Chu's shoes, he immediately saw the weakness in Yi Chu's absolute defense. Bone Douluo, who was about to refute him, opened his mouth but then closed it again. "You're right, how?" Sword Douluo smiled smugly. Suddenly, a suppressive force swept over Yi Chu. A blue halo spread rapidly outwards from Yi Chu's center. The blue-silver domain reached all areas. Thick, blue-silver emperor-like creatures continuously emerged from the ground, transforming the entire training ground into blue-silver forest. This was the third form of the blue-silver domain, also known as the myriad manifestations of the forest. Yi Chu's face lit up with joy, deeply sensing the power of this blue-silver domain. Its powerful assimilation and suppression effects made it an absolute weapon on the battlefield. It could suppress the enemy's martial soul attributes by 10%, including soul power release. The longer the suppression lasted, the stronger the effect would become. Tiskaha, Sword Man, it seems we all forgot that Yi Chu has a domain exactly like that of Little Blue. Bone Douluo laughed loudly, as if he had gained an advantage. In Zhu King's view, Yi Chu's blood-red eyes emitted a long, blood-red rainbow. The soul rings beneath his feet rose, 4 black soul rings, causing Ningfengzi and the others to change their expressions. "Yi Chu, why does his first soul ring seem a little different? I shouldn't be mistaken, right?" Ningfengzi looked at Yi Chu in confusion. "Fengzi Hi, if you remember correctly, that kid's first spirit ring has indeed changed. It used to be a 1,000-year spirit ring." Bone Douluo tugged at his messy hair in confusion. "Haha. Looks like he's had another fortuitous encounter." Sword Douluo smiled helplessly. The things that had happened to Yi Chu were hardly surprising. Fortuitous encounters seemed to never stop. Of course, in Sword Douluo's opinion, those women were also Yi Chu's fortuitous encounters. Zhu King's lips curled slightly. This was a gift from her ancestor. "Senior Sword, Senior Bone, why don't you test the power of my martial soul true body with me?" Suddenly, Yi Chu's voice rang out. The Crimson Dragon true body, which had been flying in the sky, obediently landed. Yi Chu was genuinely afraid that Liu Erlong's fiery temper would prevent her from resisting his Susanu's attack. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 615. Only 2 lightsabers could be pulled out. Oh, upon hearing that Yi Chu had actually invited them to test, Bone Douluo immediately raised an eyebrow, his words already brimming with interest. "You brat actually want us to take action?" Yi Chu nodded. "Yes, this junior would like Senior Sword to help test our defensive capabilities, and Senior Bone to test our offensive capabilities." "Sure, no problem." As soon as Yi Chu finished speaking, Sword Douluo nodded. "Then let's not delay. Sword Man, you go first, lest their soul power isn't enough and they can't defend properly, then there will be some fun." Bone Douluo also nodded in agreement. Yi Chu also knew that this was the safest way. Maintaining this state was a considerable burden for all 7 of them. "King, let's retreat a bit." Ningfengzi immediately picked up his cane and jogged backward. Whoosh! 9 soul rings rose from beneath Sword Douluo's feet. "Yi Chu, since this old man speaks so highly of you, then I won't hold back. Go straight for the 6th soul skill. If you can't hold on, remember to call a halt." "Understood," Yi Chu nodded. 6th soul skill, 10,000 swords returned to 1, clang. The sound of metal clashing rang out. Sword Douluo raised his sword with one hand, drawing a half arc in the air. Immediately, countless 7-kill swords condensed. Swish swish swish. The sword energy rained down on Susanu like a storm. Clang. 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 The Tengu mask only began to crack and crumble after withstanding dozens of attacks. Yi Chu's Susanu, however, had 3 layers of protection. The commotion also attracted Hankyushin, who was practicing the chaotic cloak hammer technique in the distance. Looking at Yi Chu's martial soul true body, Hankyushin's eyes were filled with amazement and envy. "Good lad. Your defense is indeed powerful." Sword Douluo's eyes were filled with praise. Although he didn't activate his martial soul true body, and his 6th soul skill was a group attack, the 6th soul skill unleashed by a title Douluo was still beyond the reach of ordinary soul saints. Moreover, Sword Douluo was a level 97 title Douluo. Back then, Tang Hao easily defeated Xiao Wuji without using his martial soul. Although Xiao Wuji experienced a 7-day weakness period after using his martial soul true body, Tang Hao wasn't at his peak either. "Pay attention, I will control my attack power at the full strength of a soul saint," Sword Douluo reminded him, without further delay. Countless 7-kill sword keys suddenly condensed in the air, transforming into gigantic 7-kill sword, which shot towards Yichu. Alright, Yichu immediately circulated his soul power. While a throbbing pain shot through his body, the soul power left by Jiang Zhu was slowly repairing his damaged body. Buzz! Soul power output. The previously destroyed Crow Tengu mask immediately recovered. Crack! The sword tip struck the Crow Tengu mask with a crisp sound. Bang! A deafening crash resounded as the violent collision erupted, the blinding light making it impossible to open one's eyes. Zhu King stared intently at the scene, his eyes filled with worry. The storm subsided. When Yichu and the others reappeared, the Tengu mask was completely shattered, its muscles torn apart, and Susanoo had almost half its head sliced off. However, they had withstood the attack. It seems Old Bones was right. Even a level 79 Soul Saint going all out couldn't inflict any real damage on you. Sword Douluo stood on the ground, retracting his martial soul. Haha. My turn. Bone Douluo immediately stepped forward. The bone dragon behind him soared into the air, flying to Yichu and the others. Kid, you can make your move now. I don't think you can hold out for long. Alright. Yichu glanced back at Ning Rongrong and the other girls. The eternal Mangekyou Sharingan in his eyes burst forth with a blinding crimson light. Susanoo maintained its muscular state, two lightsabers rapidly appearing in its hands. It slashed at the bone dragon before it. Bang! The bone dragon was slammed to the ground, its skull shattered and dented. Yosakuni no Magatama, Yichu uttered a low shout, his twin swords vanishing, replaced by 3 Magatama linked together. He struck the bone dragon, which had just taken flight. Bang! The bone dragon snapped at the waist, flying away almost folded over. Buzz, space trembled, and Yichu immediately deactivated his martial soul true body. The 7-in-1 fusion technique ceased. AWW so tired, Xiaolan collapsed to the ground, and the other women were also exhausted. Yulingling and Jiang Zhu immediately stepped forward to treat Yichu and the others. Husband Liu Erlong rushed towards Yichu, letting him lean against her soft body. Zhu King followed closely behind. Brother Yichu, are you alright? Liu Erlong gave Zhu King a strange look. Yichu rested his head on her heaving body and gently shook his head. It's nothing serious, just that my soul power is a bit depleted. Yichu had tried to retrieve his divine weapon, but he was still a little short. He could feel the power, but couldn't extract it. He could only play around with a couple of swords for now, and their attack power was quite impressive. As long as it wasn't a soul saint specializing in defense, even if they used their martial soul true body, Yichu was confident that if they were hit, they would definitely be covered in cuts. Is that so? It's good that you're alright. Zhu King looked at Liu Erlong's ample breasts and twitched her lips slightly. Kid, I'm not exaggerating when I say that, even a Soul Douluo wouldn't be able to withstand that attack power unscathed, especially the thing you threw out at the end. It was incredibly powerful and almost shattered my 6th soul skill in half, Bone Douluo said with a satisfied smile. In that case, what do you have to worry about? The Soul Master competition will definitely be a piece of cake. Yichu nodded with a smile. He was confident about that as well. Besides, he had only used his martial soul true body just now. That was sheer, raw power. If combined with their own soul skills, they would be far more formidable. The only thing to worry about was Tang San and his group, who also possessed the 7-in-1 fusion technique. After all, the fusion ring technique wasn't unique. Xiao Wu, wrong, you two rest here for a while. I have some things to discuss with Uncle Ning and the others. Yichu gently pushed Liu Erlong away. Husband, is there anything I can't even hear? Although I'm still far from becoming a title Douluo, I'm still a soul Douluo. Liu Erlong clung to Yichu's arm resentfully. She wasn't some delicate, weak woman. Yichu hesitated for a moment, then nodded helplessly. Alright, Erlong, you can come too, brother Yichu, you shouldn't mind if I listen in, right? Zhu King said with a smile. Of course not. Yichu shook his head and looked at Ning Fengzi and the others. Follow me. Ning Fengzi nodded slightly, though he didn't know what Yichu wanted to say. But it must be something important, otherwise, he wouldn't have wanted to change locations. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 616. Does His Highness the Crown Prince like you? As Ning Fengzi and the others had discussed, it was all about those evil spirit masters. Yichu shared with them the 2 deities they possessed, as well as the specific information he had obtained from the angel god and Jin Liu. This was so that they could prepare in advance. It seems that we need to guard against not only the spirit hall, but also those fallen ones from another continent. Ning Fengzi sighed deeply. Hearing this news undoubtedly cast a shadow over his heart. No matter how much Ning Fengzi guessed, he never expected that the evil spirit masters wanted to spread blood throughout the entire continent to strengthen the deities they worshipped. Liu Erlong's eyes also became more solemn. Zhu King, on the other hand, felt somewhat resentful about Ning Fengzi's words. What did the spirit hall do to you? Yes, a deity who slaughters the world. According to Yichu, that Tang San is actually the successor. It's really unexpected. Douluo frowned deeply. Even after breaking through to level 96, he felt powerless when the topic of deities came up. Sword Douluo raised an eyebrow, his desire to become stronger surging within him. Looking at Yichu, he said, no wonder you're worried about things changing in the Soul Master competition. Changes are possible, but Yichu is confident of winning. Yichu smiled confidently. He then turned to Ning Fengzi and said, Uncle Ning, there's no need to be too pessimistic. The Spirit Hall isn't our enemy. They want to unify the continent, while the evil Soul Masters want to destroy it. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think the Spirit Hall definitely won't start an internal conflict. Brother Yichu's thoughts are exactly the same as mine. Zhu King smiled at Yichu, quite satisfied. Haha, that's true. But it's always good to be cautious. After all, changes are inevitable. Even if there's no internal conflict, uniting will be extremely difficult. In chaotic times, most people are only concerned with self-preservation and only care about their own interests. Ning Fengzi smiled and nodded, agreeing with Yichu and his companions' thoughts, but also worried that the continent's forces wouldn't be willing to unite. After all, this was no longer a competition between a single power. It was a clash between two continents. Compared to the Spirit Hall, I'm more worried about the Clear Sky Sect's stance. Their power shouldn't be underestimated. If Tang San grows up smoothly, I really don't know who can withstand him. Uncle Ning, don't worry. Gods aren't just possessed by those evil spirit masters. The Pan continent is so vast, how could there be no divine lineages? Yichu comforted him with a smile, without specifying which gods existed. Ning Fengzi nodded. What you said makes some sense. As far as I know, there are forces overseas that are no less powerful than the Spirit Hall. Seagate Island has divine blessings, perhaps those gods are also watching us. And the Spirit Hall's ability to develop to this point, to be able to rival Seagate Island, might also be due to divine blessings. Hearing Ning Fengzi's words, Yichu is slightly taken aback, only able to say that it truly lived up to its long-standing reputation. How? Noticing Yichu's expression, Ning Fengzi smiled smugly. Yichu, actually I suspect there might be a deity behind you. After all, Tang San has twin martial souls. So there's no reason why someone stronger than him wouldn't attract the attention of a deity. Ning Fengzi paused, looking at Yichu with amusement. Besides, you couldn't have discovered this information yourself, could you? Yichu is slightly taken aback, somewhat speechless. He shook his head and chuckled. Uncle Ning truly lives up to his title as the head of a sect. He glanced at Zhu King, then said helplessly, if you really think about it, there really are deities behind me, he added inwardly. Liu Erlong, standing beside him, keenly noticed Yichu's gaze and the smug look in Zhu King's eyes after their eyes met. Unfortunately, she didn't understand the implications. Only Zhu King knew the meaning behind Yichu's gaze. Yichu definitely thought she was the deity behind him. However, according to their ancestor, Yichu had already been noticed by deities. He just didn't know it yet. After chatting for a while, Yichu led Liu Erlong away from the main hall. Walking along the tree-lined path, Liu Erlong took Yichu's arm and softly asked, Husband, should we tell the sisters about these things? No need. With their current strength, knowing would only make them overthink. Yichu shook his head, gently reaching out to embrace the ample waist pressed against him. Yes, Erlong understands. Liu Erlong nodded, then hesitated, as if she wanted to say something more. Husband whom? Erlong, what's wrong? Yichu turned to look at her, puzzled. Liu Erlong, who was usually so open about even her advances, was suddenly stammering, as if she had been him. Liu Erlong pondered for a moment, then blushed and asked, It's just that, husband, I wanted to ask you, are you and His Highness the Crown Prince quite familiar with each other in private? Yes, didn't I often go to the Crown Prince's residence before? Yichu looked at Liu Erlong, puzzled. He couldn't understand why she would suddenly ask such an obvious question. No, Liu Erlong stammered, her voice a little urgent. I mean, is there some kind of shady relationship between you two? Does His Highness the Crown Prince like you? How did you know? As soon as the words left his mouth, Yichu realized something was terribly wrong. He had subconsciously answered Zhu King as Jin Ringsu. Seeing Liu Erlong's shocked gaze, Yichu hadn't even had a chance to explain when Liu Erlong anxiously asked, "Really? Then, when you're together, who takes the initiative?" Stop. Yichu quickly released Liu Erlong, raised his hands to cup her soft, pretty face, and squeezed her cherry lips into an oval shape. Liu Erlong's beautiful face flushed, and she grabbed Yichu's arm, looking at him in confusion. "Erlong, you've misunderstood." Yichu smiled helplessly and gently released his hands that were squeezing her. "A misunderstanding? But it was clearly my husband who said it." Liu Erlong stared intently at Yichu, as if trying to find some flaw in his words. Sure enough, she discovered some signs of something he was reluctant to say. "Husband, don't be too nervous. Erlong definitely won't tell anyone, but you have to promise me you won't do it again." Stop. Yichu rubbed his forehead, hugged Liu Erlong tightly, and thrust into her twice. "Haven't you practiced with me in a long time? Don't you know how powerful I am? Do you think I have that kind of fetish?" Yichu's actions just now clearly reminded Liu Erlong of the powerful force he had used to push her forward. Her face flushed red, and her body went limp. Yes, how could her husband, who strived so hard for improvement, possibly have that kind of fetish? Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 617 Truth is the Only Beast. Liu Erlong leaned softly against Yichu's chest, her breath hot. "Then what exactly is going on between my husband and His Highness the Crown Prince?" Yichu took Liu Erlong's soft hand and led her towards where Xiao Wu and the others were training. He explained, "Erlong, actually, His Highness the Crown Prince's identity is somewhat unusual." Unusual? Liu Erlong wrapped her arms around his, her expression shifting from confusion to resentment. She leaned close to Yichu's ear and asked in a soft, sweet voice, "Husband, what exactly is unusual about him?" Yichu felt a little uncomfortable being pressed against her voluptuous body. He rolled his eyes and reached out to encircle her exceptionally soft waist. He whispered, "Do you remember Zuir who accompanied me back last time? What's her connection to you?" Liu Erlong was stunned for a moment, then quickly realized what he meant, her expression changing slightly. "My husband means His Highness the Crown Prince's." Yichu quickly pulled Liu Erlong into his arms and covered her red lips with his, breathing hot air into her ear. "Shh, don't make a sound, don't let anyone hear." Liu Erlong nodded slightly. After a while, Yichu finally let her go. Liu Erlong was a little annoyed, leaning against Yichu and glaring at him. She breathed a warm, fragrant breath at Yichu. "Husband, are you planning to smother Erlong?" "How could I? I'm just afraid someone will hear." Yichu gently wiped away the glistening color from her fiery red lips. He took a small, comforting sip. Don't worry, husband, Erlong definitely won't tell anyone." Liu Erlong wrapped her arms around Yichu's waist and assured him. She breathed a sigh of relief. So that Zuir was His Highness the Crown Prince. No wonder she stared at her husband like that, and the two of them were exchanging glances. "Alright, it's time to go back." Yichu gently pushed her away and pulled her towards the training ground. Husband, where are we going for lunch?" Liu Erlong nestled beside Yichu, a gentle smile on her face. "That's a question for you, isn't it?" Yichu raised an eyebrow. "Then I'll take you to my old place." "No problem, whatever you say." Noon. After Yichu led the women away from the 7 treasure glazed tile school, he went out with Liu Erlong. Walking on the bluestone paved road in Xiandao City, Liu Erlong didn't care about other people's gazes. She openly put her arm around her husband, who still looked like a young boy. Xiandao City was also divided into areas. In addition to the 4 districts of East, West, South, and North, there was the central area occupied by the Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace occupied the largest area, no less than the other 4 districts. The only building complex on the entire continent that could rival it was the Imperial Palace of the Douluo Empire. The other 4 districts occupied roughly the same area. But the gap between rich and poor existed in every city. The East City was not only the place where major commercial streets and various academies stretched, but it was also in the same direction as Sunset Forest, and its location was also prestigious. Prosperity and bustle are its defining characteristics. Beyond the East City lies the South City, a geographically advantageous location with a consistently warm climate, making it an ideal place to live. Officials and members of the royal family all reside there. To the north, however, are the military camps and training grounds. Husband, Erlong's little nest is in the West City, a place where most of the poor and homeless linger. The environment isn't great. But don't worry, Erlong is a soul Douluo now. I'll definitely protect you. Liu Erlong, arm in arm with Yichu, smiled gently. Erlong, I'm not that weak now, okay? Yichu rolled his eyes at her helplessly. Haha, Liu Erlong giggled, her eyes narrowing, leaning on Yichu's shoulder. Although my husband is no longer weak, as your wife, no matter what, if I see someone attack you, Erlong can't help but teach them a lesson, even if it's just saying a few bad things. My husband is the most perfect being to me. Yichu paused, turning to look at Liu Erlong, who was staring intently at him, and smiled. You're making me blush. Being a womanizer, well, it's a flaw, isn't it? HMPH. How boring, Liu Erlong snorted, pouting helplessly. Yichu opened his mouth, realizing he had indeed been oblivious to her charm. After a long while, Liu Erlong stared at him and said softly, it's precisely because my husband is a womanizer that it proves your excellence and perfection, isn't it? Yichu paused slightly, looking into her dark eyes filled with amorous allure. He pursed his lips and said helplessly, Erlong, saying that makes me really ashamed. PFFT, haha, that's exactly what I want to make you ashamed, so you'll love us even more. Liu Erlong giggled and hugged Yichu tightly. She gently kissed Yichu's cheek, the warm, soft touch seeming to pour a warm current into his heart, surging towards his danshan. Her gentle, watery voice was intoxicating. But Erlong doesn't want her husband to only feel ashamed or guilty. Don't always keep these feelings hidden in your heart, otherwise the relationship won't be pure. Husband should be happy, the sisters haven't really blamed you, how can such a thing be taken for granted? If I really did, I'd probably become a beast. Yichu pursed his lips and shook his head helplessly. Liu Erlong paused slightly, then a faint smile appeared on her face, a smile that grew even deeper. It seems that this kind of husband is more charming, passionate yet understanding of his responsibilities. He maintains respect for each other despite having many female confidants. Perhaps he is indeed somewhat indecisive. But perhaps it is precisely this kind of person who is flesh and blood, and who values feelings more? Afraid of hurting, and afraid of letting down. Therefore, he has many annoying romantic entanglements. Hell, but I don't always feel guilty. Sometimes, when I'm with you all, my mind is only filled with happiness and joy. I don't have time to think about those unpleasant things. Yichu took Liu Erlong's soft hand and walked towards the West City. That's good, Liu Erlong smiled broadly, teasingly reminding him, husband, please remember where Erlong's home is, and be sure to come find Erlong. Yes, I definitely will. I can't bear to part with this relationship, and I can't bear to lose a virtuous wife and loving mother like Erlong. Yichu nodded in assurance. At this point, Liu Erlong seemed to recall something, and her mood noticeably somber. She thought of her mother. Her mother, born into a poor and even lowly family, had traveled thousands of miles alone to bring her to Xiandao City so that she could have a better upbringing. She had spent her entire life savings to buy a place to settle down in this relatively impoverished western city. Wishing everyone a happy life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 618 An uninvited guest in the small house. She spent her life savings to buy a house, avoiding homelessness and sleeping on the streets. However, it was precisely because she emptied her savings to buy the house that she didn't have enough money to treat her mother when she fell ill. She could only delay treatment until the illness became incurable and beyond saving. Erlong, what's wrong? Did something upset you? Yichu keenly noticed the sadness emanating from Liu Erlong beside him. No, I was just thinking about my husband. Liu Erlong looked up, smiling sweetly at Yichu. Looking at her husband, who was more youthful and naive than before, yet possessed even more smiles and gentleness, her heart felt as if it were filled with honey. Meeting her husband, with her mother by her side, was undoubtedly the happiest time of her life. He not only didn't mind their lowly status but also took good care of her. Mysterious, powerful, and gentle. Her mother's life also stopped ending because of him. It was truly her greatest fortune. Thinking of me, Yichu raised an eyebrow, understanding after a moment's thought. Yes. Your image is all I can think of. Liu Erlong stared at Yichu with a mixture of joy and resentment. Yichu chuckled awkwardly, unsure how to answer. Haha. Husband, is it strange for Erlong to say such things? Liu Erlong giggled, suddenly transforming into tigress, grabbing Yichu by the throat. She asked, do you think I'm too old? How could I? If I disliked you, why would I bother you? Yichu surrendered, raising his hands. HMPH, Liu Erlong snorted. I'm quite strong, husband, don't think I'll only writhe and submit to you. She knew very well that Yichu's return to events from over 20 years ago was definitely not simple. Those who knew Yichu from the same era, like Bibi Dong, hadn't been affected at all. Moreover, Bibi Dong's whereabouts were also mysterious. Her strength had also increased dramatically after Yichu disappeared. They must have something important to do, and Liu Erlong naturally wanted to lend a hand. How could I? I didn't treat any of you as mere decorations, Yichu said innocently. That's good, Liu Erlong nodded in satisfaction, her gentle demeanor returning. We're almost there, let's quicken our pace, okay, Yichu nodded. Although the West City was a gathering place for the poor and homeless, this poverty was relative. At least Liu Erlong's home was in a very good location. It wasn't too far from the bustling East City, only about 2 or 3 kilometers away. While it wasn't as prosperous or crowded as the East City, it was still a prime location in the West City. Soon, Liu Erlong led Yichu to a small courtyard emanating a fragrant aroma. It was about 160 square meters. The main gate was a rather heavy iron gate. Through the gaps in the iron fence, a small courtyard came into view. The other 3 sides of the courtyard were surrounded by walls over 2 meters high, with embroidered arrowheads cast into the walls. Their purpose, of course, was to prevent trespassers. This small bungalow was, after all, a comfortable space for a family of 3. Even if it was just a single-story house, they could always add more later when they had the money. However, Yichu knew Liu Erlong's background. To be able to buy such a large property in this location outright, their life savings probably weren't enough. Their lives after buying the house might be more difficult than he imagined. Yichu felt a pang of heartache. Liu Erlong, meanwhile, snapped out of her reverie. She took a set of keys from the sole tool on her ring finger and opened the courtyard gate. After opening the door, Liu Erlong didn't even glance inside before turning back. She smiled sweetly at Yichu, her voice clear and melodious. Husband, come quickly. Coming, Yichu stepped forward and offered his arm, which Liu Erlong immediately took. She happily led Yichu inside. Upon entering the courtyard, the first thing they saw was the various flowers lining the walls. These flowers were Liu Erlong's mother's favorite varieties. It had become a shared hobby for the mother and daughter. When bored, they liked to plant colorful flowers. Every time they bloomed, the entire courtyard was filled with fragrance and vibrant colors, quite beautiful. Liu Erlong often came to tend to them. But at this moment, Yichu and Liu Erlong had no time to pay attention to these bright flowers. Their expressions turned cold. Liu Erlong's face was particularly grim as she shouted sharply towards a wooden shelf filled with flower pots. Who is it? Get out here. With their combined cultivation, they easily detected a faint, panicked aura emanating from behind the shelf. Yichu even sensed a hint of murderous intent. The eternal kaleidoscope opened in his eyes, his heart filled with mockery and disgust. So it's you, you stinking rat, Yichu's words fell. The wooden frame visibly trembled slightly. Whoosh! Before Liu Erlong could make a move, Yichu activated his divine power. The wooden frame and the flowers on it vanished before his eyes. Thud! At the same time, a muffled sound rang out. A man with a buzz cut, a weathered face, and wearing a worn-out academic gown that hadn't been changed in a long time, fell to the ground in a daze. It's you, you piece of trash, Liu Erlong roared angrily, his eyes filled with deep disgust. He unleashed his full-soul Douluo cultivation, crushing towards the figure. Ah! Erlong, it's me, it's Xiaogang. The one who was pressed to the ground was none other than Grandmaster Yu Xiaogang. Trash! Don't call me that, slap! Liu Erlong growled, showing no intention of communicating with him. He raised his hand and unleashed a hurricane of soul power, slapping Yu Xiaogang across the face. Ah! Yu Xiaogang let out a shrill scream. Erlong, shut up, slap, The only response he received was Liu Erlong's increasingly vicious slap. Who allowed you to be here? Who told you this location? Liu Erlong's eyes were bloodshot. This place held special significance for her. Even if she didn't live here, she wouldn't change the layout of the room in the slightest. She certainly wouldn't allow such a disgusting thing to enter. As Liu Erlong's soft hand tightened its grip, Yu Xiaogang let out an extremely miserable scream. His left leg was directly swept up and twisted by the surge of soul power, his joints bent backwards. Bone fragments seemed to pierce through his skin and clothing. I told you, didn't I? If you dare appear in front of me again, I'll break your dog legs. Liu Erlong gently squeezed Yi Chu's hand, her eyes filled with ruthlessness, her face icy. I'm asking you, did you go into the room? The only response Liu Erlong received was Yu Xiaogang's scream. Have a nice day. Chapter 619 My plans have fallen through. Yi Chu, smelling the bloody scent in the air, felt nothing. Liu Erlong, however, grew increasingly furious. Her home had been defiled by this disgusting bastard. Her voice even carried a hint of murderous intent. I'll ask you one more time, did you go inside? At the same time, Yu Xiaogang's other leg was also tightly pressed down by Liu Erlong's oppressive aura. It had begun to twist. No, Yu Xiaogang wailed, his 10 fingers digging tightly into the ground, tears streaming down his face. Erlong, I didn't. I just missed you. Disgusting. Liu Erlong was too lazy to listen to Yu Xiaogang's nonsense anymore. He gripped Yu Xiaogang's leg tightly again, and Yu Xiaogang's already twisted leg bone was directly broken back. Yu Xiaogang screamed hoarsely. His cloudy eyes were bloodshot. His gaze towards Liu Erlong was filled with pleading. Under the intense pain, Yu Xiaogang directly lost control of his bladder and bowels, a little yellow liquid mixing with the blood. Back at Blue Tyrant Academy, when Yu Xiaogang stepped into her courtyard, she had broken his legs and confined him to a wheelchair for a long time. This time, however, Yu Xiaogang's lewd nature was unbearable for Liu Erlong, and she showed no mercy, crushing his legs and causing comminuted fractures. Even with a healing specialized martial soul like the nine-hearted begonia, she couldn't fully restore his legs. Healing was just that, healing, not bone setting. I know I was wrong, Erlong. Yu Xiaogang clenched his teeth, almost drawing blood, his whole body convulsing in pain. Liu Erlong's face was grim, her soul power surging, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 4 black soul rings spinning beneath her feet, a crimson dragon phantom gleaming behind her. At the same time, a dark shadow rapidly approached. Just as Liu Erlong was about to attack, Yi Chu pulled her into his arms. Erlong, wait a moment. Husband Liu Erlong's cold expression vanished, and she looked at Yi Chu with a puzzled expression. I have some things to do, Yi Chu said softly. He wanted to get information about Tang Xin and the others' current situation from Yu Xiaogang's memories. Erlong, Yu Xiaogang convulsed, his eyes filled with anger and jealousy as he looked at Liu Erlong's hand on his waist and at Yi Chu. Get lost, Liu Erlong frowned, and with a flick of her wrist, the tail of the crimson dragon lashed out. PFFT, Yu Xiaogang was sent flying, crashing into the gate and spitting out a mouthful of blood. Bang! From somewhere, a delicate token fell to the ground. Yi Chu frowned and silently stored it in his divine might space. Who gave you permission to look at my husband like that? Liu Erlong stared at Yu Xiaogang with disgust. She then turned back, nestled in Yi Chu's arms, and said softly, Husband, do whatever you need to do. Yi Chu nodded, amused. Suddenly, a violent gust of air descended from the sky. Who goes there? Liu Erlong's martial soul, which she hadn't yet retracted, immediately charged towards the air. Erlong, it's me, a familiar voice rang out. But Liu Erlong's face was full of anger, showing no intention of holding back. He knew where she lived. Why Yu Xiaogang was here was probably related to him. Yi Chu looked up. The person who came was none other than the eldest brother of the Golden Iron Triangle back then. Flander, with his long, narrow face. Seeing Liu Erlong's merciless attack, Flander had no choice but to use his soul skill to defend. Screech. His soul rings shone brightly, and the wings of an owl crossed. Boom. A loud explosion echoed in the air. Flander tumbled through the air, landing in front of Liu Erlong's courtyard gate, staggering back 2 steps. Flander, save me, Yu Xiaogang, seeing his arrival, clung to him like a lifeline, tightly gripping Flander's ankle. Yi Chu, however, frowned. His plan seemed destined to fail. Xiaogang, you? Flander looked at Yu Xiagang's miserable state, his eyes filled with pity and regret. Normally, only Yu Xiagang would occasionally come to check on things. But even when he came alone, he would only stand outside and peek inside. Occasionally, he could see Liu Erlong's figure in the distance. But the frequency of his visits had increased. Yu Xiagang had started questioning him, appearing utterly dejected, leaving Flander with no choice but to confess. He hadn't expected that just yesterday he had spoken to him, and today Yu Xiagang was in this state. Flander looked at Liu Erlong with a pang of heartache. Erlong, after all this time, are you really going to be so heartless, brother Flander? I have no feelings for him whatsoever. Since that day, all that's left is disgust. Liu Erlong had calmed down and stared at Flander, responding coldly. Back that night, when Yu Xiagang proposed to her, she had already seen through his disgusting face. If it weren't for the soul skill left by Yichu in her eyes, she might have been deceived by this beast. Brother Flander, I already said. I'd break his legs if I saw him even once. Why do you think I'm joking? Why did you tell him about this place? Liu Erlong questioned Flander. Flander was speechless for a moment. He understood why Liu Erlong's attack had been so powerful. It was truly because he had spoken out of turn that she was angry. Erlong, Xiagang just missed you and me too much, enough. Brother Flander, Liu Erlong frowned, her eyes filled with distance. Do you think it's appropriate to say such things in front of my husband? If you, brother Flander, continue to say such baseless things, then don't blame Erlong for disregarding our years of sworn brotherhood. Seeing the coldness in Liu Erlong's eyes, Flander couldn't help but panic. The matter between Yu Xiagang and Liu Erlong was clearly beyond his control. It would be a thankless task. Erlong, please don't say that. I'll be more careful in the future. Flander lowered his stance and hurriedly explained, a bitter smile on his face. Looking at Yichu beside Liu Erlong, a hint of helplessness and envy flashed in his eyes. Xiagang was indeed no match for Yichu, in every aspect. I'll take Xiagang back now. I promise I'll never let him bother you again, Flander said, bending down and lifting the half-paralyzed Yu Xiagang into his hands. Liu Erlong hesitated for a moment, about to activate her martial soul to stop him. Yichu gently grasped her soft hand and shook his head indifferently. Goodbye, Erlong. Flander, carrying Yu Xiagang, bid farewell to Liu Erlong. He had also made up his mind to put Liu Erlong down and try not to come here again to do anything pointless. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 620 Liu Erlong's Hard Lunch. Brother Flander, if you still consider me your third sister, I advise you to stay away from this good-for-nothing and associate with Tang San's group. Sooner or later, you'll run into serious trouble. Liu Erlong watched Flander's retreating figure and couldn't help but warn him. Thank you, third sister, I'll think it over carefully. Flander smiled bitterly. How could he not acknowledge Liu Erlong as his third sister? In this situation, it seemed the question wasn't whether he acknowledged her as his third sister, but whether she acknowledged him as her elder brother. Yu Xiagang, still bleeding, turned to look at Liu Erlong, his eyes filled with pain. The word good for nothing in Liu Erlong's words deeply stung him. He never understood. When they were adventuring in the Soul Master world, Erlong was perfectly fine. Why did she suddenly become like this? And Flander, he actually said he would think it over carefully. Suddenly, he remembered the two heaven-defying methods that Soul Wind had prepared for him to change his fate. Yu Xiagang's heart stirred with a sudden urge. Goodbye, Erlong. Whoosh. Flander said goodbye again, not lingering long, and soared into the sky with a crippled Yu Xiagang in his arms. Watching them leave, Liu Erlong's expression softened. She turned to Yichu. I'm sorry, husband, I didn't know this would happen. Alright, it's not your fault. Let's clean up our little home together. Yichu stepped forward and gently embraced Liu Erlong. Liu Erlong chuckled, kissing Yichu for a moment. Then, Yichu and Liu Erlong cleaned up the bloodstains on the ground and watered the listless flowers and plants in the courtyard. Meanwhile, Flander, carrying the severely injured Yu Xiagang, flew directly towards the avalanche-stricken mansion. He didn't have enough money for Yu Xiagang's treatment. Even with money, ordinary healing-type soul masters probably couldn't heal this kind of injury. In the backyard of the avalanche mansion, Yu Xianheng, Ma Hongjin, and others were gathered. They had finished their morning training and were enjoying lunch, sitting, squatting, and standing. Fatty, your Mubai is fickle, Yu Feng teased Ma Hongjin, his eyes full of mockery. At a stone table not far away, beside Tang San who was eating, sat a voluptuous, heavily made-up figure. Golden hair, a gentle face, a high-pitched voice, and a tall figure. Ignoring Tang San's dark expression, she kept piling food onto his plate. Third brother, you need to eat more to have energy for training, Daimyo fawned over Tang San. Tang San's expression wasn't good, he had actually lost his appetite long ago. He didn't know how many times he had refused. But out of consideration for their past friendship, this kind of tug-of-war contact was impossible to refuse. Ma Hongjin, not far away, was somewhat annoyed, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't care less. After all, from the beginning, Daimyo was only closer to Tang San. He had merely taken care of Tang San during his injury. If it weren't for his limited funds preventing him from going to the brothels of Yongdao City, he wouldn't have turned against his own comrade. Daimyo was a playful person, and since his injury, he hadn't laughed in a long time. The two of them were a perfect match. Daimyo had found a reason to live besides revenge. He looked at the alluring figure flirting with Tang San beside him. Facing Yu Feng's mockery, Ma Hongjin merely sneered, HMPH. He's just a tool for my peaceful cultivation. He'll be back tonight. If you don't believe me, come and see for yourselves tonight, damn it. You fatso, don't disgust us, Oslo yelled, goosebumps rising all over his body, instantly losing his appetite. Suddenly, a shadow fell from the sky. The accompanying gale carried a heavy stench of blood. Mo Wuchang and Tang San looked up at the sky one after the other. It's the dean. Mo Hongjin stood up. He's holding, it looks like master, right? Yu Feng frowned, uncertainly. Flander landed, and Yu Xianhang looked at Yu Xiagang's drooping, bloodied legs. He couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Uncle! How could this happen, Senior Flander? What happened to my uncle? Flander opened his mouth, unsure what to say. Never mind that for now, let's think about how to save Xiaogang. Teacher, Tang San, unable to bear Daimyo any longer, quickly pushed him aside and strode towards Yu Xiaogang. Xiao-san, Yu Xiaogang looked at his disciple, as if seeing his hope. He couldn't help but burst into tears. Teacher, what happened to you? Tang San frowned, looking at Yu Xiaogang's clothes soaked with urine. He felt a bit disgusted. Yu Xiaogang gritted his teeth, trembling, and whispered, Teacher, I accidentally did it myself. Tang San frowned. Did Yu Xiaogang think everyone was stupid for lying through his teeth? Could he have twisted his leg like that? Since teacher doesn't want to say more, then Xiao-san won't ask any more questions. Dean Flander, don't worry, my godfather has a way to heal teacher's injuries. In that case, then Xiao-san, please ask His Majesty the Evil Blood. Flander breathed a sigh of relief. He thought Yu Xiaogang would be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life, soon. Yu Xiaogang's screams echoed from within the avalanche mansion. His legs had been severed by the evil blood Douluo. Then, the evil blood Douluo used his 8th soul skill to repair them. Daimyo, witnessing this miraculous scene, didn't ask the evil blood Douluo to heal him. He was already used to being subservient to others. On the other side, after Yichu and Liu Erlong tidied up the courtyard, they finally had time to consider what to eat for lunch. Liu Erlong cooked the noodles and told Yichu to stay in the kitchen while she went to her usual pastry shop and bought some soft, cream-filled breadsticks. Husband, let's have these for lunch, Liu Erlong said with a smile, pointing to the noodles in the pot. Eat my noodles first, okay? Yichu nodded with a smile. After lunch, Yichu leaned back on the sofa for a short rest. At this moment, Liu Erlong brought over the bread she had bought earlier. Husband, have some dessert. She took out a breadstick and handed it to Yichu. Okay, leaning back on the sofa, Yichu took the breadstick, took a small bite, and found it quite tasty. How is it? Is it good? Liu Erlong squatted beside Yichu like a dutiful wife, resting her head on his lap, also holding a piece of bread. It's pretty good, soft and crumbly, and the cream inside is very sweet. Yichu licked his cream-stained lips and smiled. That's good. Seeing that Yichu was satisfied with the dessert she had bought, Liu Erlong beamed and ate her own. Wishing everyone a happy life. Written request for leave. Chapter 620 was pulled back for further review and rehashing. Taking a day off. I won't abandon this project. Wishing everyone a happy life. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 621 You'd better be stronger than me. Soon, Liu Erlong, who was resting her head on Yichu's lap, frowned. The bread she had bought seemed to be expired. It was a bit hard to chew. She couldn't help but look up at Yichu and ask, "Husband, did this shop not change its bread for too long? Did they sell me expired bread? I can barely chew it." Yichu looked at the bread he had almost finished and shook his head. "It's always like this. Maybe you haven't eaten it in a while, so it's a little unfamiliar, is that so?" Liu Erlong raised an eyebrow. She continued to enjoy her dessert. Perhaps it was true, as her husband said, that she hadn't eaten it for too long. But in the next 2 days, back here, she could eat as much as she wanted. With her Crimson Dragon martial soul, there was nothing she couldn't melt. It was just expired bread. As the owner of the Crimson Dragon martial soul, she could easily reheat that bread, making it soft and sweet again. Yichu had finished eating and was leaning back on the sofa, closing his eyes for a nap. After a long time, she twitched twice as if she had a nightmare, then opened her slightly trembling blue eyes. "Husband, I'm done eating. If you want to rest, let's go to the couch." Liu Erlong sat up in Yichu's lap, her face flushed an alluring red, her lips glistening. Her warm, soft hands wrapped around Yichu's waist, and she didn't forget to straighten his clothes. "Did Yichu say you'd take me to see the basement after we finished eating?" Yichu raised his fingertips and gently traced a corner of her lips, tidying her appearance. "No rush, husband, let's rest first. We've already wasted almost half an hour." Liu Erlong's voice was slightly hoarse, her eyes filled with resentment. She hadn't expected that even with her deep throat skills, she still couldn't quickly shake Yichu. The secret chamber underground in their house wasn't going anywhere, she could take him there anytime, to see his mother-in-law. "Alright." Yichu didn't say anything more. Just as he was about to withdraw, Liu Erlong grabbed his wrist, pressed Yichu's fingertips to her red lips, gently curled them, and swallowed hard, cleaning away the remaining traces. Afternoon. Yichu didn't send Liu Erlong back to Blue Tyrant Academy. He went directly to the Crown Prince's residence, took Jinriksu, and went to the Blue Silver Forest. Time always passes quickly during cultivation. Sunset. Jinriksu lay in Yichu's arms, relaxing after her cultivation. She smelled the elegant fragrance on Yichu's body, along with a hint of mellow aroma. Jinriksu couldn't help but frown. "Yichu, won't they be angry if you bring me out to cultivate like this?" Noticing Jinriksu's green tea scent, Yichu couldn't help but roll his eyes, his hand moving down from her waist. He gently patted her shapely buttocks. "Zuir, it seems you asked me to cultivate with you, right? You said you wanted to get stronger quickly and asked me to help you whenever I had time, HMPH. I just find those women annoying." Jinriksu looked at Yichu, snorted coldly, and said nothing more. Her face was slightly flushed. She was already breaking the rules. If those women knew, they would definitely ostracize her. But Yichu usually lived with them, so why couldn't she, Jinriksu, have more contact with him? "By the way, Zuir, I have a papal token." Yichu suddenly remembered the papal token he had obtained from Yu Xiaogang that morning. "How did you get something like that?" "I don't remember Grandpa giving you one, did he?" Jinriksu placed her hands on Yichu's body, looked up at him with a puzzled expression. "I got this from Yu Xiaogang," Yichu said, taking the token out of his divine might space. Upon seeing Yichu's eternal kaleidoscope, Jinriksu's body immediately went weak. She gently rolled her eyes at Yichu, lightly nuzzling him to calm her urges, though her body grew increasingly hot and wet. Taking the papal decree from Yichu's hand, Jinriksu examined it closely for a moment. The lines on it were exquisitely smooth, engraved with 6 patterns, each representing one of the 6 titled Douluo, the Clear Sky Hammer, the 7-Kill Sword, the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex, a chrysanthemum, a ghost, and a crown. This is indeed genuine. How did that good-for-nothing Yu Xiaogang get it? Tang Hao gave it to him. It should be from the Clear Sky sect. I found it today and took it back. After all, the papal decree has considerable power, so it won't get in the way later, Yichu explained softly. The papal decree is the highest-ranking token issued by the Spirit Hall to non-Spirit Hall personnel. Its function is mostly symbolic, as anyone holding this token possesses the prestige of a Spirit Hall elder, almost as if the Pope himself were present. Inside the Spirit Hall, it was like having the Emperor himself in the Empire. That's certainly something to be aware of. Jinriksu nodded slightly, then returned the papal decree to Yichu. "Keep this one, you might need it for the finals or later." "Okay," Yichu nodded, not refusing. The spirit wall was practically part of his own power now, so taking a papal decree was perfectly reasonable. I was originally planning to look at Yu Ziyagang's memories, but I didn't expect Flander to be with him. Yi Chu still felt a little regretful. He just didn't want Liu Erlong to be troubled by this. After all, she had been wandering the Spirit Master world for so many years. HMPH. What's there to be afraid of? As long as you wholeheartedly help me cultivate and let me inherit the divine position as soon as possible, I'll kill all those rats in the gutter. Jin Ringsu propped herself up, looking down at Yi Chu. Haha, then I'll wait for you to protect me, Zuir. Yi Chu laughed and hugged Jin Ringsu. You're spineless, Jin Ringsu pouted, pinching Yi Chu's chin and warning, if you're weaker than me, I'll imprison you and play with you as I please, then I'll have to work hard, you bastard. How much do you not want to leave them? I have to take responsibility for them. Ugh. Yi Chu didn't give Jin Ringsu a chance to say anything more, directly capturing her honey-smoked red lips, leaving her speechless. Then he disappeared into the blue-silver forest. Lan Ying swung on a swing in the distance. She sighed and shook her head helplessly. She really was sick, able to watch those two guys for an entire afternoon. When Yi Chu returned to Liu Erlong's courtyard in Zichen, she was preparing dinner in the kitchen. Yi Chu stood at the kitchen door, watching the slightly bent, busy figure. He couldn't take his eyes off her. Her voluptuous figure, outlined by the tight apron, highlighted her unparalleled charm. Every curve was so soft and alluring, exuding a mature suppleness, full and brimming with vibrant life. Those rounded lines, illuminated by the light, radiated a captivating glow, making one yearn to touch them. Her cheeks and neck revealed fair and delicate skin, seemingly untouched by time, smooth as jade. The high heels and black stockings on her legs added even more to her allure. Wishing you all a happy life. Chapter 622. Maybe it's because they were playing tricks? Yi Chu tiptoed into the kitchen. As a soul Douluo, Liu Erlong naturally sensed that familiar aura. Being stared at from behind by Yi Chu with such intense, almost tangible gaze, especially focusing on her most intimate areas, as if you were truly playing with him, filled her with shyness and her face flushed crimson. She was even a little nervous, afraid that Yi Chu would suddenly barge into her room. Yi Chu looked at Liu Erlong's reddened earlobes and her shapely legs, tightly pressed together and encased in black stockings beneath her short skirt, her curvaceous and alluring figure. Even her back view was incredibly seductive. Husband. Liu Erlong suddenly felt a tightening in her body and couldn't help but let out a soft moan. It's me, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Yi Chu had already embraced her from behind, gently stroking her from her buttocks to her waist. Holding her gently, his hands could clearly feel the softness and elasticity of Liu Erlong's body, and a surge of desire welled up within him. No, I was just about to cook too. Liu Erlong turned her head slightly, her face flushed, her voice soft, and her dark eyes still moist. She didn't feel the stove in front of her was hot at all. Yi Chu behind her made her feel much warmer, and she enjoyed being surrounded by his presence. Do you need my help? Yi Chu asked with a smile, embracing her alluring, voluptuous body, his love growing even stronger. No need, I can do it myself, Liu Erlong said coquettishly, her voice filled with sweetness and shyness. The firewood was already piled beneath her, making her feel warm and moist. Let's do it together. Yi Chu gently pulled Liu Erlong closer to him, as if trying to meld her into his body. Husband Liu Erlong squeezed her legs together tightly, her body feeling weak. If Yi Chu hadn't been holding her, she probably would have needed to hold on to something to stand. Haha. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. I'll wait for you outside. Yi Chu looked at the oil pan, which was already smoking, and stopped teasing her. He just squeezed her breasts a few times, gently stroked her chest, and left the kitchen. Liu Erlong, supporting herself on the stove, clutched her chest, trying to catch her breath. She scooped up the spices from the cutting board and put them into the prepared spring water. Splash. Crackling. Before she could recover, Liu Erlong had to make soup first, pouring the water and spices directly into the oil pan. Once the water boiled, she would add the meat and other ingredients. She could also take this time to recover. Half an hour passed. With Liu Erlong stir-frying, several dishes were ready. There was no need for further greetings. Yi Chu, who had been waiting outside, went forward and, together with Liu Erlong, carried the food to the already cleared table. Husband, I can walk by myself, Liu Erlong exclaimed, her voice filled with joy and shyness. Yi Chu picked her up, and she wrapped her arms around his neck, Her face flushed as she nestled against him. You can walk, but I can't carry you? If you don't like it, I won't do it anymore. No, how could I not like it? It's just that I smell a lot of cooking fumes. What are you afraid of? Even if you weren't cooking for me, you didn't complain about how bad my dessert was, and you even sang it so deeply. Why should I complain about such trivial cooking fumes? Yichu chuckled and placed Liu Erlong on the single sofa he had prepared. Then squeezed in himself. The two of them sat together without feeling crowded. Instead, there was a sweetness in the air. Liu Erlong gently leaned on Yichu's shoulder and kissed his cheek passionately. Yichu turned his head and lightly tasted her luscious red lips. Yichu embraced her voluptuous waist and said with a smile, "Alright, let's eat first, I'm getting a little hungry." Liu Erlong nodded slightly and gently ladled soup for Yichu. As she served it, her face was full of tenderness, and she asked softly, "Husband, did you go to see that Zuir who was impersonating His Highness the Crown Prince this afternoon?" Yichu was stunned for a moment, then understood. Erlong must have also caught a whiff of Zuir's scent. After all, he and she had spent the entire afternoon embracing in the blue-silver forest, and after their cultivation, they had kissed and hugged each other, teasing each other quite a bit. Without hiding anything, Yichu truthfully explained, "Well, a long time ago, Zuir and I resonated with each other's martial souls. Later, she approached me to cultivate the martial soul fusion skill together. After that, I often went to the Crown Prince's residence to cultivate with her. In that state, both of our cultivation speeds increased significantly, so that's how it is. No wonder Rongrong is still talking about how you often stay out all night at the Crown Prince's residence. She's starting to suspect that His Highness the Crown Prince has given you women." Liu Erlong covered her red lips and let out a soft, coquettish laugh. "How could that be? Even if he really gave me women, could they be prettier than Rongrong and the others? Why would I stay out all night?" Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly. "Maybe he's playing around? Like, His Highness the Crown Prince gave you many and you all played together? After all, we sisters are still used to fighting alone," Liu Erlong said with a light laugh, then noticed Yichu's strange gaze. She quickly explained, "Husband, this isn't what I said, it's all Rongrong and Yannian's guesses. Hell, I'm not that bad. Isn't Zuquing's 7-in-1 soul skill amazing?" Yichu rubbed his forehead, both helpless and amused. Liu Erlong spat inwardly. Of all the sisters, besides her, Zhu's Huqing was the most exhausted. After all, she had a voluptuous figure, and her 7-1/4 soul skill required at least 7 rounds of combat just to use it once. How? Yichu smiled at Liu Erlong's embarrassed appearance and helped her serve the food. Then he apologized, "I'm sorry, Erlong, I should have been with you today, but I didn't mean to hide it from you. It's just that I can't reveal Zuir's identity, and she really needs to become stronger as soon as possible. Besides, I'm afraid Rongrong and the others will be prejudiced against Zuir, PFFT, ha ha ha." Liu Erlong giggled and leaned gently against Yichu's chest. "Husband, you don't need to apologize to me. No matter what you do, Erlong will believe you unconditionally. I won't tell the sisters, but like I said, if you need help, Erlong isn't made of clay, I know." Yichu smiled and nodded seriously. The two whispered sweet nothings to each other, and before they knew it, they had filled their stomachs. Yichu lay on the recliner, looking at the stars in the sky, waiting for Liu Erlong to clean up in the kitchen. Not long after, Liu Erlong quickly dried her hands and came out to the courtyard. "Husband, could you please help me change my clothes?" "Sure." Yichu didn't hesitate at all and stood up to follow Liu Erlong into the room. Chapter 623. I'm afraid the buttons will pop off my face. Inside the room, Liu Erlong, with Yichu's help, had already removed the black dress that still smelled slightly of cooking oil. Yichu knelt down, his fingertips slowly tracing her delicate, soft waist and long legs, removing her black stockings. Then he removed Liu Erlong's black lace underwear and panties. The sight before him made Yichu unable to look away. Even though they were practically an old married couple, and Yichu had explored this area extensively and ridden her countless times, his heart still raced. She sat on the edge of the bed, knees together, head bowed, her earlobes red. She possessed a unique curve, slender where she should be, and full where she should be. Her waist was as delicate as a willow swaying in the breeze, supporting her full breasts and hips. Every part was perfectly proportioned. Her shoulders were broad but not overly strong, forming a perfect balance with her slender waist. Her lines were gracefully undulating. Whether dressed or undressed, She exuded an irresistible charm. Yichu, unable to contain his anger, glared fiercely at his beautiful, mature wife. Liu Erlong, too shy to look directly at Yichu, couldn't bring herself to do what she had done back in the starred-out Great Forest, when she had drugged Yichu and surrendered herself to him. Spending so much time with Yichu had made her feel like she was back in her youth, rediscovering some of her girlish naivete and reserve. Her young female companions had also played a crucial role, preventing her from shouting too loudly during their encounters, lest she disturb their sleep. Husband Liu Erlong crossed her arms, unable to conceal her full breasts. Her slender, graceful figure, her legs crossed, were alluring, a sight to behold. Her face still bore the delicate blush of a young girl's. She was utterly captivating, radiating a seductive, languid, and satisfied charm. Releasing one of her arms, Liu Erlong pointed to the red dress and lace lingerie on the bed. Husband, these are the clothes Erlong will wear later. Yichu coughed twice, took a few deep breaths, and walked with a slight stumbling. Oh, I'm coming right now. Liu Erlong smiled contentedly. It seemed she was still quite alluring to her husband. Taking advantage of Yichu's approach, Liu Erlong's mind went blank. She turned around, both coy and generous, bending over with her back to Yichu. Yichu groaned, as if he had suffered internal injuries. Looking at that perfect, mature peach-shaped buttocks, and that shadow, Yichu dared not look any longer. One more glance and he would explode, that perfect shape. But he couldn't control himself. His woman, what was wrong with him looking at her? Even if he wanted to do something after looking, it was perfectly natural. Under Yichu's gaze, Liu Erlong bent down, biting the clothes in her mouth, then turned back. Her alluring, watery eyes met Yichu's. 1 step, 2 steps. With each step Liu Erlong took, her body warmed, and her face became more radiant. Yichu's heart pounded wildly with her steps. It was truly unbearable, utterly irresistible. Yichu's face flushed slightly, and he leaned forward slightly. It wasn't that he hadn't considered transforming into a werewolf. But Liu Erlong had even changed his clothes before taking him to the basement, which was enough to show that there must be something important inside, or something of special significance to her. Therefore, Yichu wasn't in a hurry. The night was still long. Liu Erlong gracefully walked to Yichu, and Yichu reached out to take the clothes. His fingertips touched her soft breasts, the gentle sinking sensation carrying a jolt of electricity. Both of them couldn't help but feel a little restless. Erlong, you'll be in for a world of hurt then. Yichu's voice was a little hoarse as he took the red dress from her hands. Liu Erlong's delicate body trembled slightly, a hint of fear and regret flashing in her eyes. A surge of heat coursed through her body, and she pounded her eyes, her voice almost trembling with tears. Husband, quickly help me put this on, okay? Yichu straightened the clothes in his hands, then immediately noticed that something was wrong with them. Erlong, aren't these clothes a little too small? Liu Erlong nodded slightly. These are all from many years ago. They are a little small, but they can still be worn, wearable. Yichu tilted his head, scrutinizing her narrow-mindedness. Then he looked at the clothes in his hands again. He shook his head. It was really a bit too much for this outfit. He was the most qualified to comment on her size. Even Liu Erlong herself couldn't see the full figure. This dress might burst. But since Liu Erlong insisted, he could only put in a little more effort to help her squeeze it in. Soon, Yichu began to dress Liu Erlong in a red dress. The short skirt was alright, it covered her hips. Below were her straight legs, wearing light green high heels and black stockings. Her leg shape was very impressive. As for the upper body, the underwear was easy, but the red outer garment took Yichu a lot of effort. He pressed his hands on Erlong's body, constantly pressing and compressing her voluptuous figure. Erlong, inhale. Yes, Liu Erlong also experienced the difficulty. After taking a long breath, Yichu finally overcame the biggest obstacle and put the clothes on. Finally dressed, Yichu wiped the sweat from his forehead, looking at Liu Erlong bound by the tight-fitting clothes. Her voluptuous figure was completely highlighted. Thank you, husband. Liu Erlong also took a deep breath, and then struggled to fasten the top few buttons on her chest. Yichu subconsciously covered his face. He was genuinely afraid that the clothes wouldn't be able to support her voluptuous figure, that they would tear open or the buttons would pop off, hitting his face. All done, Liu Erlong smiled happily, wearing a fitted short-sleeved shirt, a short skirt, and high heels, looking youthful and radiant beside Yichu. Her black hair flew, her skirt billowed, and a fragrant breeze caressed her face. Her shapely buttocks were faintly visible. Liu Erlong skipped over, hugged Yichu's arm, and shook it playfully. "Husband, give Erlong a simple haircut and a ponytail," she smiled sweetly, looking youthful and beautiful, as if she were more than 10 years younger, her smile carrying a touch of Xiao Wu's playfulness and liveliness. Yichu was somewhat dazed, nodding slightly and smiling. "Okay, thank you, husband." Kiss. Liu Erlong happily applied a few glistening drops to Yichu's face. Pulling Yichu along, she led him to her dressing table, sat down, and handed him the comb. Yichu took it and carefully styled Liu Erlong's hair. He felt a little awkward, though, because even though he was some distance away, he still managed to touch her beautiful back. Liu Erlong blushed. Soon, Yichu had tied her hair into a simple ponytail. Liu Erlong stood up, tossed it, and looked back at Yichu, brimming with energy. "Husband, let Erlong help you." Liu Erlong pulled the proud Yichu into the bathroom. Wishing everyone a happy life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 624, The Frozen Mother-in-Law in the Basement. P.S. Previous image, Shen Hezhong, Yichu, slightly confused, followed Liu Erlong inside. The moment he stepped across the threshold, his spirits lifted. There, Liu Erlong, who now looked like a young girl, was looking down at him. It turned out she had noticed his shoelaces were untied and wanted to retie them for him. This thoughtful care warmed Yichu's heart. Liu Erlong pursed her red lips, looked up at Yichu with a smile, and then slowly knelt down. Looking at Liu Erlong kneeling before him, Yichu couldn't help but reach out and tenderly stroke her beautiful, black hair. Such a virtuous and considerate wife, what more could a husband ask for? Yichu looked up at the small window above the wall, where the moonlight streaming in was as clear as water. He took a deep breath, as if he could absorb the cool moonlight, which made him feel refreshed. His body seemed to relax and unwind. The cool moonlight shone on his face, and a sense of relief appeared in his azure eyes. After a long while, Yichu seemed to have unloaded all his burdens, his mind and body experiencing unprecedented relaxation. In the room, after savoring the deep throat with Liu Erlong, Yichu emerged from the bathroom early. He was refreshed, a far cry from his previous discomfort and embarrassment. Plop, he comfortably lay down on the bed Liu Erlong had prepared that afternoon. Even with Liu Erlong's fragrant clothes on it, he remained unmoved, like a gentleman, untouched by external things. A while later, Liu Erlong, her face flushed, emerged from the bathroom. Seeing Yichu, she smiled tenderly. Her red lips were fuller, still beautiful, but slightly swollen. Her smile wasn't as natural as before, because her cheeks were a little sore. Liu Erlong cupped her face and gently rubbed it. She sat down by the bed, chuckling softly as she helped Yichu up, her voice slightly hoarse. "Husband, let's go." "Okay." Yichu sat up, his sharp eyes easily noticing a stray hair on Liu Erlong's hair. He pointed, "Erlong, you didn't clean this up properly, let me help you." "Huh? Where is it?" Liu Erlong was startled, looking around. She should have already cleaned it up. Yichu led Liu Erlong to the dressing table and sat her down on the stool. "You can't see it yourself." "Yes, thank you for your trouble, husband." Liu Erlong's face flushed. She hadn't covered herself completely, and the stain was showing. She'd been so focused on protecting her clothes that she'd overlooked some details. "It's all right." Yichu carefully cleaned the stain from Liu Erlong's hair. Then, he gently cupped her fair, milk-washed face and began to massage it. A faint green light shimmered in his hands. "How is it? Still sore?" Yichu leaned down slightly, close to Liu Erlong's ear, and asked softly. "It's not sore anymore." Liu Erlong smiled brightly, leaning gently against Yichu's chest, turning her head to look at him, unable to see anything else. Yichu gently pinched Liu Erlong's chin, capturing her delicate red lips in his mouth. Green light flickered. Yichu pursed those warm lips, carefully treating her. She playfully stuck out her tongue, swallowing the green light. Liu Erlong's breathing became long, her eyes narrowed, her eyelashes fluttered gently. She reached out and hugged Yichu's leg, her throat bobbing. Contact with her husband was always so intoxicating. Before long, Yichu finished the treatment, and Liu Erlong's voice had returned to normal. Leaning against Yichu, Liu Erlong looked up and smiled. A hint of teasing appeared at the corner of her mouth. Husband, that's twice today already, right? It should be able to continue later, right? Are you doubting my blue-silver bloodline? So enduring, huh? Yichu looked at Liu Erlong's playful expression, feeling a surge of excitement. He gently flicked her brow. Liu Erlong pouted like a girl experiencing her first love, covering her forehead and letting out a soft sob. Yichu chuckled softly, placing his hand on her forehead and gently stroking it. Liu Erlong looked up and smiled sweetly. Liu Erlong's unusual behavior tonight made Yichu realize that the person in the basement might be her closest person, her mother. After all, even Du Yuan's parents were frozen, awaiting resurrection. It made no sense that Liu Erlong's mother was gone. Alright, Erlong, shouldn't you take me to see Mom? Yichu leaned down and gently pinched Liu Erlong's cheek. Husband. You actually guessed it. Liu Erlong hugged Yichu's waist, looking at him in surprise. Yes, Senior Du Yuan and I actually crossed paths a long time ago. Yan Yan's parents were frozen and submerged in the icy spring, Yichu explained softly. I see. Liu Erlong stood up, took Yichu's arm, and smiled. Then Senior Du Yuan and Yan Yan are really lucky to have met you, husband. Their family will definitely be alright. Yes, I will try my best. Yichu gently hugged Liu Erlong. Let's go, husband. I'll take you to see my mother. No, our mom. Liu Erlong happily swung her ponytail. Following Liu Erlong, they arrived at a corner of a storage room. She gently patted the wall twice. The ground began to loosen, revealing a square cellar entrance. Even standing here, Yichu could feel the chill emanating from within, rushing towards him. Husband, I'll go down first. Liu Erlong turned to look at Yichu, and as she spoke, she was about to place her beautiful legs, wrapped in black stockings, onto the wooden stairs. Erlong, let me do it. Don't get your clothes dirty. Yichu gently put his arm around her waist. A red light flashed in his eyes, and soon the two of them twisted and disappeared from the spot. When they reappeared, they were already underground. It was a rather rough-looking basement. The floor and the walls were only so-so. There were wooden supports supporting the floor above. Besides a wooden table, a futon, and a stone platform against the wall, the three were arranged in order. On the stone platform against the wall was a blue block of ice, about the size of a coffin, very similar to the two coffins in the ice and fire yin-yang well. In front of the ice block was a wooden altar for worship, with an incense burner on it. In front of the wooden table was the futon. Husband Liu Erlong took out a glowing knight-shining pearl from her soul tool, illuminating their faces. Yes, I'm here. Yichu put his arm around Liu Erlong and walked towards the ice coffin. He didn't rush closer, but stood in front of the table, waiting for Liu Erlong's next move. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 625. Did he take a rejuvenation drug? Liu Erlong stood before the table, handing the luminous pearl to Yichu. She then retrieved discarded clothes from her soul tool and cleaned the table. Husband, throw away that futon. Yichu nodded. His divine power activated, and the futon on the ground was immediately collected. Liu Erlong then waved her hand, retrieving two new futons from her soul tool and placing them on the table. She then took out incense and candles, lit them, and offered prayers. Yichu naturally followed Liu Erlong's actions. Mom, Erlong has finally found him. Liu Erlong turned to look at Yichu beside her, her eyes glistening with tears. Yichu gently grasped her soft hand. He had never waited, he didn't know how long 20 years had been. Now, all he could do was stay by her side. He rose with Liu Erlong and went to the ice coffin. Inside, frozen, was a beautiful woman with wrinkles and a sickly pallor. Her face bore a striking resemblance to Liu Erlong's. Dressed in a light blue cloth robe, she possessed a relatively perfect figure, though the ravages of time and hardship had diminished her fullness. Otherwise, her physique would likely be comparable to Liu Erlong's, only with a more delicate air. Beside Yichu, Liu Erlong, enduring the frost, lay on the ice coffin, whispering to the woman inside. Mom, your daughter is doing very well now. Mom, when you open your eyes, maybe you'll be able to hold your grandson. Gradually, Liu Erlong's voice trembled with sobs. Yichu gently patted her back beside her, while simultaneously observing the ice coffin. This layer of ice didn't appear very hard, Yichu even felt he could shatter it. But miraculously, it had turned the person inside into part of the ice. In other words, what was inside was no longer a person, but a block of ice. But this process seemed reversible, and it wouldn't melt. Or rather, it was at the level of millennia-old ice. The time required for it to melt naturally would be considerable. Yichu was curious about what kind of soul skill this was. The night was alluring, and all was quiet. Suddenly, a meow like a baby crying rang out. Meow. In a corner of the courtyard, two cats, drenched in cold water, looked at the thriving catnip in the grass. They immediately rushed forward to fight for it, forming a pincer attack. Meow. From the roof, another cat landed and pounced on the top of the catnip. Meow. The cold cat fought over the lower part, while the agile cat kept biting at the top. When they came out of the basement, it was already past midnight. Liu Erlong had cried for a long time, and neither of them had the interest to have a deeper conversation. Yichu didn't mind. After all, he had already troubled Erlong twice today. He couldn't be too greedy. Yichu took out a bed from his divine might space. He and Liu Erlong laid down in the courtyard, looking at the night sky above, enjoying the refreshing night breeze. He watched with great interest as the three cats fought over the food. After a long while, the catnip in the grass was devoured, its leaves and stems falling to the ground. The cold night frosted over it. Only the cats that had flown down from the eaves remained, still feasting and cleaning up the mess. Neither the dew, the frost, nor the fallen catnip escaped its grasp. The cats, having filled their bellies, ran to the eaves, curled up, and waited for dawn. Yichu also withdrew his gaze. Husband Liu Erlong suddenly uttered a sound of discomfort. She grasped Yichu's hand and placed it on her chest, which was icy cold and devoid of warmth. Husband, is Erlong's body frozen? She can't feel anything. Liu Erlong, with her single ponytail, leaned half her body against Yichu, still shivering involuntarily. Don't worry, it's only temporary. I'll rub it for you, and it'll be fine. Yichu smiled and reached out to treat her. Liu Erlong had been lying on the ice for so long, it would be strange if she hadn't gone numb from the cold. Then let my husband help me. Liu Erlong dodged Yichu's movements and gently hugged his body. Yichu was stunned, not understanding what she was doing. Soon, Yichu finally understood. Erlong was inspired by the scene earlier. In any situation, the best and most effective way to melt the ice on one's body is undoubtedly to gather dry firewood and then light a fire. The heat from the burning firewood would easily melt the ice. Coldness and softness surrounded the heat. Yichu looked up at the moon, stretching his body. Even with Liu Erlong lying on him, it didn't hinder his comfortable breathing. He gently hugged Liu Erlong's warm waist. The cold night wind blew by. Yichu couldn't help but think of Xiaolan. The difference was that Xiaolan was hot and cold, while Erlong was both hot and cold. Each had their own merits. The night slowly passed. The sun rose in the east. Yichu looked at Liu Erlong, who was curled up against him, her face flushed, her slightly swollen red lips slightly upturned, and her collar revealing a glimpse of her snow-white skin. He smiled gently. Erlong, it's time to go back to the academy, husband, just take me back. Liu Erlong's face flushed slightly, not wanting to waste any more words, she simply hugged Yichu's neck. Okay. The girls of Blue Tyrant Academy actually gasped in surprise. Wow. Sister Erlong, did you take some kind of anti-aging potion? You look so beautiful. Ningrongrong looked at her incredibly good figure, wearing a short skirt that barely covered her plump hips, and a single ponytail that exuded youthful energy, and couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Wrong, do you mean I used to be very old? Liu Erlong blushed, quite satisfied with Ningrongrong and the others' reaction. No, Ningrongrong waved her hands repeatedly, although she was a little devil. She was still a little intimidated by Liu Erlong. HMPH. Good that you don't. Liu Erlong raised her fist, flicked her ponytail, and looked smug. Sister Erlong, why do these movements of yours look a bit like Xiao's? Zhu's Huking pinched her chin, looking at Liu Erlong, then glancing at Xiao from time to time. Do I? Xiao sat in Yichu's lap, poking her head with a carrot. Yes. Xiaolan skipped over to Xiao and flicked Xiao's scorpion braid. Xiao frowned, pointing her index finger at her lips. It seems a little. Ooh. Yichu gently tapped Xiao's head. This isn't your specialty. Many young girls play with their hair, and when they don't want to play anymore, they just throw it back, right? It seems so. I often play with my pigtails too. Bai Chengxiang paused, looked at the hair ends in her hand, and nodded in agreement. My husband is right. Who hasn't been young? Do I need to learn this kind of thing? Liu Erlong put her hands on her hips and snorted coldly. Seeing Jiangsu beside her, she immediately grabbed her and pulled her into her arms. Ah, Dean, Jiangsu couldn't help but exclaim. The two girls, one big and one small, huddled together, truly looked like sisters. Looking at Jiangsu, who seemed to be suffocating, Yi Lingling couldn't suppress the urge to smile beneath her veil. Ah! Yanzi, what are you doing? Liu Erlong cried out, quickly releasing Jiangsu and covering herself as she moved away. She frowned, watching Du Yan, who had missed her target. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 626 Riding the Dragon and Breaking the Waves on the Sea. Du Yan spread her hands and teased, Second sister, you're all set now. You can play the roles of a young girl, a young woman, and a mature woman all by yourself. Your husband will love you to death. Yichu rolled her eyes. This topic was getting inappropriate again. Is Yanzi envious? Liu Erlong covered her full red lips and couldn't help but let out a smug giggle. Han Qiushan blushed as he looked at the women in the courtyard. They were all shameless. Always saying such smooth things. Of course I'm envious. Before Du Yan could speak, Ning Rongrong began to openly express her envy. She had been lusting after Yichu's body for a long time. She even couldn't help but roll around and hang on Yichu's body, for which she made a promise that took a different approach. Speaking of which, why did second sister come back so early today? Did she beg for mercy early last night? Xiao Wu tilted her head, looking at Liu Erlong and Yichu beside her with confusion. Yet, doesn't Sister Erlong always look like she hasn't slept properly after spending time with her husband? She seems a bit off today, Du Yan curiously observed Liu Erlong. Ahem, Yichu coughed twice, carrying Xiao Wu in his arms and holding Yi Lingling beside him. Alright, what's the point of this? You're not happy if I'm gentle? Yichu rolled his eyes and leaped onto the roof with the two women. Gentle where? Ning Rongrong pouted resentfully, she'd never experienced it before. Yichu's methods weren't going to be too excessive. Haha. Alright, sisters, time to cultivate. Liu Erlong giggled, grabbed Ning Rongrong and Jiangsu, and jumped onto the roof. Tonight, she had to possess Yichu, completely ensnare him. Yesterday, she'd only established a deep, intimate bond with him. She was still far from truly knowing him. The morning's commotion quickly subsided. While preparing breakfast, Liu Erlong didn't take Yichu away. Instead, she returned to her room and had Yichu help her change her clothes again. She could dress younger in front of her sisters and husband, but at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, she couldn't dress like that. At noon, Yichu, along with Liu Erlong and Chu Henshin, went to the Tom and Jerry carving shop, and then took her to Biao village to pay respects to his grandfather, old Yi. HMPH. If it weren't for that wretched woman blocking my way, I would have found my husband long ago. Walking along the country lanes, Liu Erlong looked at the surrounding scenery and couldn't help but feel sentimental. Years ago, Yu He had told her that Yichu lived here. When she tried to leave, Bibidong caught her red-handed. Yichu didn't know what to say, and could only laugh awkwardly. Husband, even if you don't help me in the future, you can't help her. Liu Erlong turned to look at Yichu, her expression serious. Yichu raised his hand. Erlong, I definitely won't help her bully you. By the way, does my husband still not know what that woman is doing? I'm not sure. She's probably completing her divine trial. Yichu shook his head slightly. He didn't know how to deal with the two Bibidongs, or rather, he didn't know how things would develop. Divine trial? Liu Erlong was startled. She had only heard her husband mention this term yesterday at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. She hadn't expected Bibidong to be chosen by the gods. No wonder she was so strong. But this was a good thing. Having her around would at least help her husband a lot. Well, I don't know the specifics. Maybe we'll have some interaction during the finals. Yichu stroked his chin. By the way, Erlong, do you want to go home? Go home? Liu Erlong was stunned. She hugged Yichu's arm, leaned on his shoulder, and asked softly, does my husband mean the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan? Yichu nodded slightly. That's not Erlong's home. I have little to do with him. He doesn't even ask about my mother's whereabouts or whether she's alive or dead. What kind of husband or father is he? Liu Erlong didn't have much affection for the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan. Her limited goodwill was only based on her bloodline, talent, and strength. Otherwise, even if she was the daughter of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan's second-in-command, she wouldn't have been able to get the sect's support to establish the Blue Tyrant Academy. No matter what, he's still your family. Even if you don't acknowledge the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, you should at least acknowledge you Luomian, right? Yichu raised an eyebrow, pinching Liu Erlong's waist, and teased her. Since my husband wants me to acknowledge him, why do you still call him by his name? Liu Erlong rolled her eyes coquettishly. Haha. Just teasing you. Yichu gently kissed Liu Erlong's fair cheek. HMPH. It's better not to go see him, to avoid getting into trouble. Liu Erlong didn't think that Yu Luomian would greet her with a smile if she brought Yichu there. There would definitely be other troubles. Liu Erlong didn't want to go, and Yichu didn't force her, perhaps because of his age or lack of strength. Night fell, the moon was bright and the stars were few, the sea and sky blended into one. On the calm sea, a small sailboat bobbed and swayed, constantly causing ripples on the surface. The sailboat sometimes bobbed up and down on the sea, sometimes rocked back and forth. The swaying seemed to have a certain rhythm, the force always leaning to one side, like a light touch and a heavy drop. Soon, dark clouds filled the night sky. A storm was brewing on the sea. Inside the cabin, Yichu held Liu Erlong and opened the window, looking at the waves and dark clouds outside. Splash! The waves crashed against the hull, heavy and powerful. The sailboat tilted towards Liu Erlong, and Yichu was pulled along with it. Erlong, it looks like it's going to rain. Yichu frowned, grabbing Liu Erlong's waist to prevent her from falling. But, let's wait a bit before we go. I'm not going now. The ship tilted, and Liu Erlong couldn't help but exclaim boom. A wave several meters high surged into the cabin, the heat from Liu Erlong's legs gathering in the seawater. The waves threatened to capsize the sailboat. The ship was riding the waves, and Yichu was riding the dragon. Ah! Liu Erlong cried out. Wave after wave crashed against the sailboat outside the window. Husband, Erlong is taking off. Liu Erlong spread a thunderfire dragon wings, carrying Yichu out of the cabin, riding the wind across the sea. Yichu was still riding the dragon. Looking at the sailboat swallowed by the waves below, Liu Erlong's delicate body trembled. Husband. I'm out of strength. Although Liu Erlong's thunderfire wings were spread, in this terrible weather, each wave was more ferocious than the last. Moreover, they were in the sky, with dark clouds and lightning above. This feeling of carrying Yichu and riding the waves made her feel dangerous, excited, and powerless. Erlong, it's alright, let's go back to the divine might space. Yichu unfurled his blue-silver wings. Holding Liu Erlong's body, his eternal kaleidoscope swirled in his eyes. The two disappeared into the turbulent sea, leaving only a patch of warm rain. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 627. Did he not drown with the two dragons? Inside the divine might space, Yichu landed carrying Liu Erlong. He folded his wings and placed her voluptuous body on the bed. The bed shook violently. Yichu grabbed her waist, trying to steady her. A night passed. The sun rose, the rain stopped, and the storm at sea had long since subsided. It was then that Yichu, carrying the sleeping Liu Erlong, drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, the space above the sea distorted. Yichu, carrying Liu Erlong horizontally, appeared in midair, watching the sun rise above the horizon. Liu Erlong, just awakened, was weak and listless, only able to glance lazily at the sun. Erlong, I'd better take you back to Blue Tyrant Academy first, Yichu said, shaking his head helplessly. Liu Erlong, who had been training all night, doing squats, was quite imposing. Now she seemed utterly exhausted. Yes, whatever my husband says, Liu Erlong replied, too weak to even speak. All he wanted to do was go home as soon as possible, get a good night's sleep, and then take a nice hot bath to wash away every trace left on his body. Liu Erlong wasn't interested, and Yichu didn't want to stay any longer. The eternal kaleidoscope loomed. In a special distortion, Yichu and Liu Erlong's figures disappeared on the sea surface and appeared in Liu Erlong's boudoir. Yichu settled Liu Erlong down and then walked outside. Zhu's Huking was already up. Seeing Yichu, she happily threw herself into his arms. The early bird catches the worm. The other sisters hadn't come out of their rooms yet. Even if Zhu's Huking wasn't competitive, she wouldn't miss this opportunity. Husband, her soft breasts pressed against Yichu's body. Yichu also skillfully wrapped his arms around Zhu's Huking's waist. Zhuking, you broke through to level 49. Yes, I broke through last night. Zhu's Huking smiled as she leaned against Yichu's chest, but soon her brows furrowed. Husband is Sister Erlong alright, cough cough. She's fine, I know my limits, she's just a little tired, Yichu coughed twice. That's good, Zhu Huking rolled her eyes at Yichu and pressed her cherry lips to his. Even though Liu Erlong's scent still lingered, Zhu Huking didn't mind, enjoying this rare moment alone. Yichu also raised his hand and gently slid it over her body. Xiao Chu, hearing Xiao Wu's voice, Zhu Huking's throat bobbed twice. She then gently released Yichu, leaving a few glistening drops of saliva on her red lips. PFFT. Xiao Wu rushed over from the side, and Yichu opened his arms to welcome this octopus-like, soft-boned, alluring rabbit. Xiao Wu's round, large, crimson eyes gazed at Yichu, cupping her lover's face. She playfully stuck out her little tongue, scratched Yichu's cheek, and then pinched her cheek. Sticking out her tongue, she said strangely, Xiao Chu, you smell weird, maybe it's from the seawater. Yichu held Xiao Wu's pert bottom, watching her playful tongue sticking out expression. He kissed her red lips, pursing them. He teased, feeling better now, not bad. I wish it lasted longer. Xiao Wu puffed out her cheeks, giggling. Xiao Wu, you actually believe his nonsense? What seawater? I think it's clearly Sister Erlong, Ningrongrong yawned, looking resentfully at Yichu with Xiao Wu clinging to him. She wasn't happy that Yichu didn't have a seat for her. If it weren't for the many sisters around, she probably would have already knelt before Yichu, wanting a bite of hot breakfast. PFFT, how could my husband drown? Sister Erlong must have overeaten. Du Yan swayed her slender waist as she came over, with Yi Lingling beside her. Why do you all like talking about this kind of thing? Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly. Zhang Zhu, who had just come out of the room, couldn't help but nod in agreement. She was the one who was most upset. Yeah, they often call Sister Xiao Wu Rogue Rabbit, even though they're more of a rogue than me. Xiao Wu pouted and complained to Yichu. She was just a little more enthusiastic towards Xiao Chu, which was why she didn't know as much as they did. Although she had heard a lot from others, she now understood almost everything. But she was definitely not a rogue rabbit. Ningrongrong snorted and pointed at Yichu, saying, HMPH. Yichu was the one who started calling her rogue rabbit. Xiao Wu, if you want to blame someone, you should blame Yichu. Xiao Chu can call her that, but you can't. Xiao Wu pouted. She was happy that Yichu called her a rogue rabbit, and she did often act like a rogue on Yichu. Besides, hearing this name from Yichu's mouth reminded her of the past, of her memories. And she often made random noises when she was under Yichu. She'd called out things like I'm wrong and I'm lingling many times. So, it seemed perfectly reasonable for Yichu to call her that a few times. It was just a bit of playful banter between her and Xiao Chu. Perhaps thinking of this, Xiao Wu looked at Ningrongrong and felt a little guilty, adding, even if you really want to call her that, you can't let outsiders know. Xiao Wu, why did you suddenly change your tune? Did you do something bad and keep it from us? Ningrongrong raised an eyebrow. Having known Xiao Wu for so long, she understood her well. This girl, who liked to be the boss, wouldn't give in so easily. What bad thing did I do? I'm just doing this for the sake of our sisterhood. Anyway, we can't let outsiders know. Xiao Wu pouted and buried her head in Yichu's arms. Yichu looked at the little rabbit's sullen expression and couldn't help but ruffle her hair. Haha. Of course we won't let outsiders know. Du Yan covered her red lips and chuckled. She then rolled her eyes at Yichu, swayed her hips to his side, and flicked her tongue at his cheek. Husband, shouldn't you be happy about these topics? After all, even if we say some really suggestive things, the core of our conversation is always you. Yi Lingling looked at her best friend and couldn't help but secretly spit. Such affection made her blush. Yes, that stinky woman is right. Ningrongrong clapped her hands in agreement. All right then, just don't say it in front of outsiders. Yichu shook his head helplessly, though he was genuinely happy. HMPH. Do you think we're some kind of resentful women? We wouldn't gossip like that outside. Ningrongrong rolled her eyes. She was a lady of high birth, the sect leader. How could she possibly say such things in public? Bai Chengxiang, Xiao Lan, and Zhu Henshin, among others, came out a little late and missed a lively chatter. In a rush to make it to the morning assembly, Xiao Lan hurriedly dragged Han Chu Dan, who wasn't dressed properly, out with him. Sister Xiao Lan, my clothes aren't on properly, the senior will see, wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 628. Jiang Zhu barged into the bathroom. You brat. Don't look. Ningrongrong scolded, kicking Yichu's leg. I didn't look, Yichu declared, proving his innocence. Xiao Wu had already covered Yichu's eyes with her little hand. Zhu Huking smiled gently, her red lips pursed. Little Lan, why are you in such a hurry? You're going to tear Xiao Tian's clothes. Bai Chengxiang, who is related to Han Hao Tian, gave little Lan a helpless look. The older sisters are laughing so happily. Little Lan is a little curious. Little Lan scratched her cheek, and seeing that the fun was over, turned to look at Han Hao Tian. Little Tian, I'm sorry, it's okay, I just overslept. Han Hao Tian shook her head. She was usually the one who woke little Lan up every day. But last night, she had been practicing with a hammer and stayed up late. She had overslept. She only woke up when she heard Ning Rongrong and the others making noise outside. Little Tian, if you're too tired from cultivating tonight, you can ask little Lan to heal you. Jiangsu chuckled, gently putting the exposed shoulder strap back on for Hanqiu Tian. Okay. I'll use the life-giving elixir to help little Tian's body every night from now on. Little Lan wouldn't feel like a bother to her only sister at all. Would that be too much trouble? Hanqiu Tian knew that little Lan went to bed very early. He really didn't know how she could have such terrifying cultivation levels when all she did was sleep and eat. You can ask me too, Yi Lingling said softly. I should be able to too, Jiangsu chuckled and ruffled Hanqiu Tian's hair. Alright, you guys cultivate first today, I'm going to take a bath. Yichu released Xiao Wu and walked towards Zhu Zhuking's room. His aura was indeed somewhat disordered. Second sister must be exhausted. Ning Rongrong sniffed the lingering scent in the air, somewhat expectantly. The other girls also had flushed faces. Alright, Miss Ning, let me carry you up to cultivate, Du Yan chuckled, putting her arm around Ning Rongrong's waist. Ah, I don't want to. Xiao Wu will help me. Ha ha ha, you stinky woman. Don't tickle me. Amid Ning Rongrong's laughter, Du Yan carried her to the rooftop. Zhu Zhuking shook her head helplessly. Lingling, let me take you up. Okay, thank you. Yi Lingling stepped forward and hugged Zhu Zhuking. No matter how many times, she would always feel that this person's heart was too narrow. Jiangsu, let me take you up. Bai Chengxiang spread her wings and took Jiangsu's soft hand. The women sat on the rooftop, watching Jiangsu and Bai Chengxiang fly up. Du Yan looked at Jiangsu teasingly. Jiangsu, what are you doing up here, huh? I'm cultivating. Jiangsu's pink eyes were filled with confusion. She didn't feel that Du Yan was excluding her. After all, they were all very familiar with each other. Du Yan shook her head helplessly and sat up straight. She continued, you come to cultivate with us at a time like this, when will you ever become our true sister? Jiangsu blushed, somewhat confused. She had no reason to hide her feelings for Yichu. Zhu Zhuking's eyes flickered slightly, but she remained silent. Ning Rongrong's bright blue eyes darted around, and she seemed to understand. Jiangsu, why don't you go and bathe with that stinky guy? Jiangsu's face turned blood red. She stammered, how can I do this? Yichu, he hasn't. Sister Jiangsu isn't going. Xiao Lan is going. Xiao Lan raised her little hand, her eyes showing excitement. Henki Ushin looked at the group of women in shock. They were being far too generous. Ouch! Ning Rongrong tapped Xiao Lan's head in annoyance. Jiangsu, your husband won't refuse, otherwise why would he have acquiesced these past 2 days? Zhu Zhuking advised from the side. Looking at Jiangsu's well-developed body, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but warn her, but Jiangsu, you can't do anything too outrageous. You can use your words and tricks, but you can't draw blood. I won't. Jiangsu waved her hands repeatedly, her head spinning, her face flushed, and her steps unsteady. Don't worry, Sister Erlong meant the same thing. Originally, she was supposed to guide you, but she might still be dreaming about it, so we had to talk to you about it. Du Yan's words seemed to give Jiangsu a shot of adrenaline. Then I'll go now. Jiangsu lowered her head like an ostrich. It was too embarrassing for her to be asked to bathe herself so soon after arriving. Du Yan nodded. Of course, otherwise your husband will be coming out soon. A simple back wipe will suffice. Oh, Jiangsu nodded blankly and was about to turn and leave. She even forgot that she was still on the roof. Fortunately, Bai Chengxian caught her in time. In Zhu Zhuking's wooden cabin, in the bathroom, Yichu stood under the shower, washing himself. His deep blue hair obscured his eyes, and warm water droplets slid down his fair skin, soaking him from head to toe. Yichu's mind became much clearer. Just then, Jiangsu, who had mistakenly entered the wrong room due to nervousness, finally arrived at the scene. Click. Hearing the door open, Yichu didn't think much of it. After all, the woman often washed his back, and he was used to it. It wasn't until a warm, jade-like hand trembled and touched his back that Yichu turned around curiously. Then his eyes widened. Jiangsu, it's me. Jiangsu's face flushed, and she was somewhat delirious. She was still wearing a long red dress, the warm water outlining her well-proportioned figure, neither voluptuous nor thin. Du Yan was right. Yichu was surrounded by the woman and had little time to pay attention to her. If she didn't take the initiative, this awkward relationship would continue indefinitely. Under Yichu's gaze, she bit her red lips tightly and whispered, Yichu, let me help you scrub your back." Yichu was taken aback. Jiangsu coming in at this time meant they must have tacitly approved, or even instructed, her to do so. He nodded, wrapping the towel around his waist. "Okay, thank you, you're welcome." Jiangsu took a deep breath, then lowered her head, gritting her teeth, unsure what to do. Her pink hair was wet, plastered to her flushed face. Jiangsu didn't dare look around, staring at the towel in front of her as she pulled it off. Yichu was slightly stunned, 2 question marks above his head. Jiangsu was also somewhat bewildered. What was she doing? How did she pull the towel off? Jiangsu's face was practically bleeding, her voice trembling. She couldn't help Yichu tie it back up. She could only grit her teeth and proceed to the next step. I'm going to begin." With that, Jiangsu bit her red lips and raised her hand to begin rubbing Yichu's back. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.